Can everyone do a mic check? Testing. Yep. Maybe I should turn it up.
Mic check. Mic check.
Yellow.
Did you lose your dinner?
Stop it.
Metrozyk. I'll still screw it up. I was close though. Don't look how it's spelled. If I need you what? Oh, yeah. Right. Trying to think if we ever had one like that recently. Well, yeah, you just need one, a little one that it's just a notice that, hey, we're gonna.
Strictly, they were paying people to stay at home and not work, as far as I could talk to her.
This is for the roof? Yeah. No Semper Fi? They didn't respond? Did you contact Semper Fi for the roof? Or they don't do commercial?
We have a customer down in North Carolina.
But they didn't?
Wants 25.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was just,
One kind of action. Each one about
yeah, well, yeah, it's right here in town. Yeah, it's just- I thought maybe,
the slight variations. Technically 35.
well, Elite, yeah, it's, you know, but he's,
All John's controls.
Missed us, you
I
had to
need
come
to
to
deliver
visit.
the customer to hospital before they'll even consider placing.
yeah,
Well, our system says.
we just got a low bidder problem, that's all. I mean, Elite is second to the,
For the 35. No.
right, right, well,
I deal
that's
with this
right.
every day. I call
You just
back.
we just gotta articulate
It's a
reasons why.
system.
So it'd be good that you were part of it. I think we'll do Larry first,
And it changes daily.
and then we'll do this
Because
roof
we don't
thing, and
know
then you
if
can
we
give your report,
We don't
unless
know.
somebody objects.
It's a 12-day,
Which-
normally a 12-day lead time.
We'll see.
Still got the workers.
I don't think it's workers, it's the components.
Shoot, it's 7 o'clock.
Well, if you had workers, you'd have a component.
I had one question on the minutes too, but
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, well, I thought Dan voted against something,
Amanda.
the, the buyout for the insurance. I thought he voted against it too.
Right.
Mexico,
In the finance committee meeting. Yeah, we can check it, change it. Yeah, we can ask him what he did, and then you can change it. Bring it back or change it on the spot, right? All right.
That's the way everything.
Ready to go? Ready to go? Good evening. Today is October 7, 2021. Welcome to the Village of Vernon Board Meeting. I will call the Village Board Meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance and a standing moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Roll call and open meeting law compliance check.
President Carl Fortner,
Present.
trustees Jim Slaney,
Present.
Dan DeGrave,
Present.
Marie Kumarshek, Lorraine Dashik.
Present.
Mr. President, note for record, you have a quorum of your village board. Also note for the record that John Henneberry, the DPW director, is here. Also, the agenda was posted inside and outside the village hall to businesses and the media within the village of Vernon. Excuse me, the media outside of the village of Vernon. And on the Village of Vernon website, you're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Thank you. First up on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comments tonight? No public comments. Okay, we are going on to our agenda. We do have an item on here for Mr. Metrozyk. He is here in the audience. I thought if we could deviate from the agenda and do, as a courtesy, take his matter up first. This is item 5C. If there's any objection, there are no objections, so we'll start there. And then, since our DPW director is here, we will go to roof repair deviating from the agenda. Hopefully there's no objections, and then to get DPW Director Henneberry on his way. We will take his report after that. No objections, no objections. So we'll start with item 5C, review of the conditional use permit for Larry Metrozyk for the property located at W249 S8350 Center Drive due to legal review. You did see in your packet our attorney's legal review. Typically, these matters, this was approved by the board. This is his conditional use permit to park a commercial truck at his residence. And the attorney review came back. He did have some changes which we will make on the deed restriction and so on, which are not substantive, but more clarifications, and we typically just make those. But item 3, in his legal review, he raises under conditions, changing the wording and considering whether the conditional use order should also recite what remedies are available to the village if the vehicle, the commercial truck that he's received permission to park at his residence, does cause damage to village roads. I thought that was a substantive matter that could not just be changed without board input and approval of that kind of change. The board could certainly take action tonight. They could refer it back to the Plan Commission and to not further delay the conditional use permit and getting that going. Our Plan Commission is next Wednesday, and we would take it up. We would put it on the agenda and take it up then so as to not cause any further delays. And if necessary, if it had to come back to the board, it could come back at the next meeting. But that tees up the issue. I don't know if the board, or what the board's feeling is on it. Right now, the conditional use just says nothing about the point John Macy raised, but it does say if he damages the road, we could terminate his conditional use permit, which is a all or nothing, as opposed to, well, we could just make him pay for the road and keep his conditional use permit going, if that's what it was chosen to do. And I know damage to the road is hard to prove. There's an evidentiary issue there, but that shouldn't enter into our decision on what the conditional use permit should say or not say, because that evidentiary issue is going to exist no matter what the conditional use permit says. And, I know John, during the hearing, during the Plan Commission hearing, had pictures and so on, and, he's not supposed to damage the road. I mean, it does say that in there, so this is the point of, well, what are the remedies if he does? So we'll open it up for discussion and then see what the board, how the board wants to proceed. Anybody want to start?
Well, I had mentioned in one of our other meetings, I went up and down the road from Edgewood up to National, and didn't find any other spot where the shoulder was damaged, like the pictures that you showed that were in close proximity to the petitioner's driveway. So maybe a fair assumption that he probably rode over the shoulder, backing in or pulling in, however he goes in. Clearly, in my mind, the cost of repairing the road should then fall on the person that damaged it. I don't know if that constitutes the additional penalty, if you will, that Mr. Macy was referring to. Because I didn't see, when I read through that conditional use permit today, I didn't see where it says that he would pay for the road damage.
Right, and that's his point, that it does not say that.
Okay,
Right, and that's what his point, and to me, that's because it doesn't say that, or Sean didn't have it in there, you know, that's, to me, is a bigger change than, well, the deed restriction, yeah, we know what you mean, just clarify it here. You know?
right.
And here it's like, well, it doesn't say exactly what you said, and I think that's what he's raising. Do you want to put something in there that he has to pay for the road? In the conditional use permit.
Right.
It does say that we can terminate his permit, but to me, that's a harsh sentence, a harsh result if, depending on the damage to the road and how often it's done. If it's an isolated event and he says, well, fix it, I'll pay for it. Okay, that could be one thing, but if he does it every week, it might be a different thing. You know, he's told us that he's not going to. You know, he's promised us that, so.
Accidents happen. I mean,
But sure, things happen, and maybe,
I don't know
you know.
how big of a
Yeah.
cost it would be to fix the shoulder the way it is right now. I mean, if that's the extent of the damage, yeah, to me, that doesn't appear to be a big deal. Obviously, if you were continuing to drive over the shoulder, that would be a different story.
Little cracking off the asphalt.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
edge, yeah.
Right on the edge,
Right.
especially when you get to the edge where the gravel is, that might not be compacted as well as the center of the road, that type of thing. So it's fair to expect some of that to a degree on the edge like that. I would be fine with adding the cost of repairing the road to the CU. If we can get past the evidentiary issue of,
Right.
you know, like I say, I wasn't convinced that we have any recourse on saying, oh, that you did it, you know, unless we see it happen. And I don't know what the likelihood of that is. You know, I've lived here 40 years, and I honestly just have never seen his truck on the road. I even asked my wife that, and, oh, really? No, she didn't know that either. But we're not out there at 6 o'clock in the morning or at 5 o'clock in the evening either, you know, so. But if that was what Attorney Macy was referring to, then I would say that seems fair to me.
Dan, you're looking at me, you want to go?
Is there any recommendation coming from the planning commission?
No. This letter came in October 1. We haven't had a plan commission, so as to not cause undue delay, I got it on the first board meeting because we could skip the plan commission. The board can, if it so chooses. That's why I said at the beginning, we could remand it to see what the plan commission feels about it first, but that would just cause further delay. And so this is a way to, you know, the board's going to want to do what it wants to do anyway. What, you know, it doesn't really need to hear from the plan commission, but that's an option. That's certainly an option. And you just heard from one plan commission member, so. But 1 out of 4. I haven't said anything yet. Any other thoughts?
Well, I tend to agree with Jim that if somebody wrecks something, that they should fix it. And if the road is damaged by his trucks, then he should pay for it. I've got a trucking business right next to me, and I never see that. Do you see it, John? Bix? And Bellman's? I mean, I just don't see that happening a lot, so.
Well, this is just a freshly paved road, that's the only reason why it's kind of, is a little more obvious, you know, any kind of damage is gonna show up a little sooner, that's all. You're gonna get cracky eventually, no doubt.
So, yeah, if the road is damaged from his trucks, then I think we should put it in there that, he should pay for it.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Dashik?
Since we're currently in the process of trying to resurface a few of our village roads, the cost is enormous. And so damage that occurs shortly after they're first installed would be hard not to ask for reimbursement to have it repaired. Would you be doing that repair, or would we have to call the Payne and Nolan or whoever did the road?
We could cut it out and patch it ourselves. Typically, we can do small patches on our own.
Do you have an idea of what kind of cost?
Depending on the size of it, I mean, if you gotta go down, you know, the length of it. I mean, we just got a couple, them culverts that we just replaced. 2 truckloads of material is $600, you know, plus the labor. So you're looking at $1,000 for a patch or something, you know, depending on the size.
Right, depends on the size and the extent of the damage, I guess. And we do have pictures. One good thing is we do have pictures of the condition of the road when this conditional use permit was granted. So we have a condition of the road to compare to, let's say next year or whatever. And to be fair to the petitioner here, he's got an extra wide driveway, I think he's told us, and yeah. And he can make the wide turns because he has extra driveway now.
Yeah.
Can he miss it? Sure.
Yeah, just when you're pulling out, if you go to the north, I know it's gonna be tough not going across the road, and it's, if you can keep it a little shorter, that's all I'm asking. Just to stay off of that shoulder.
My question is, so if you go down the road, at the end of
Well,
anybody's driveway,
Mr. McCoach, you need to come up and we'll have to use the microphone. And I know it's kind of informal in here, but, so if you could just please state your name and your address for the record, and then
sure.
you can.
Larry Metrozyk, W249 South 8350 Center Drive. So my question is, if you go down the road at the end of anybody's driveway, if there's damage, are they liable? Are you making this, you know, someone has a load of stone delivered to their house and they crack the edge of the road, are they gonna be liable? Are you gonna make this for everybody?
If that's the case, if I know for a fact, I have had people repair roads, pay for them if they have damaged them during construction, stuff like that. I mean,
Right.
typically not so much, but yeah, if there's a case where it's proven that they did it,
Right, we could go pursue you without this. It's just that it would be, I think the attorney point would be, it would make it very clear that it's part of your conditional use not to damage the road when you drive your commercial vehicle. Everybody, if they damage the road or hit a sign, we charge them. You know, the fellow who hit the sign out here, you know, the blinking stop sign, he got charged to replace it.
Well, my question is, if someone else does it in front of my driveway,
Well, that's a problem.
How does that-
How do we prove it's you? How do we prove that it was
Right,
you?
so-
I don't think we could. If somebody else did it, how could we?
right, so I don't see why this has to be put in there. It's already a rule for the town, right?
Well, sure, but this is a special permit, and I don't want the argument later to, and I think this is the attorney point, I don't want the argument later as, well, it's not in there, and you allow me to drive my truck, what did you think would happen? Of course, I'd hit the side once in a while. You know, to me, it's more of a clarification, and I know when you were in here, you swore up and down you didn't damage the road that John was showing, and secondly, that because you have the wide driveway and you're an experienced driver, you could make the turn.
Correct,
And you just don't hit the gravel.
correct.
And based on that, I think your permit was granted. I think if there was a lot of concern that you were going to damage the road, you wouldn't have been granted your permit. So, and if you don't damage the road, this clause is not going to make any difference to you.
Right, but is that in the clause for all conditional uses in Vernon?
Well, I don't know if we've granted driveway permit,
Most of
commercial
them are
trucking,
on a
yeah.
county trunk or state trunk highway, Larry. There's not a lot on local roads, but although
What about
Enterprise,
like Enterprise Drive?
Enterprise Drive is one that
You
has,
go look at the edge of that. You know,
That has what?
has conditional uses and a lot of semi-traffic coming in.
AM Towing's road there. I don't remember what the road is, but that's
Enterprise Drive.
Guthrie School Road.
AM, oh, that is AM Towing too. So all three of them roads, actually, 3 or 4 of them roads down there, they have to have, some of them have conditional uses because there's heavy trucks going in there.
Guthrie School, yeah.
All them
yep.
roads are like that on the edges. I mean, I just don't see how it's fair to me to have it in there and not everybody else.
Well, one distinction is you're here today and those were granted earlier. The other is, they're on commercial roads and you're on you're on Center Drive out of a residence. That's not the same out of it,
Well, I
as
know a
opposed to
couple
an
other conditional
industrial,
uses
out of the
on
industrial
resident
park.
roads, then roads are the same way. We mentioned Gary Bellman Trucking. That road is all the way up and down. It's like that.
Anything, John, board members, he's here. You can ask him questions.
I'm not necessarily in favor of putting in the clause that he has to pay for the road. Because I still have a problem with, how do we know that his truck actually caused the damage? That's, to me, the issue, and if we can't prove it, why bother with it?
What if we can prove it, Jim?
Pardon me?
What if we could prove it?
Yeah, I don't think we can, but if, like I said, if we could prove it, because we actually saw it happen, I don't know how else we could prove it.
Well, that's how you'd prove it.
Yeah, then I'd be okay with it, you know.
Well, then that's your proof right there. It doesn't have to be in the, I'm worried about someone else doing it, and then you're telling me that I did it. You know, I plan on putting concrete in my driveway. What about the concrete trucks that come by and break the road?
Well, that goes to John, what you've said, if the
But-
construction crews come in and damage roads, they get a bill for it.
Larry, may I ask how long you've been parking your truck?
It was like 5 years before. And the road's been in,
How come we're just having to see you now? That's the part I guess I didn't understand.
Because when Larry put his accessory building up, there was a restriction for no commercial use of the property, and it was a misunderstanding. Larry did hear the Plan Commission talk about commercial use, and he stated he thought he was allowed to bring his truck in. When he realized he couldn't do that, he moved his truck immediately to a different location and went through the process of applying and asking for that, which was granted.
I appreciate that. That's,
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
yeah, okay. Because I know you've got that big building you actually park it in.
yeah.
I mean, that isn't brand new.
Well, it's 3 years old now.
Is it only 3 years that that's been up?
The second one is. The first one's been there since I built
Right.
it right when I bought the property. That was 27 years ago, I think. So I've been actually living in Vernon for over 30 years. I mean, I'm not trying to split hairs here, but the mower come by and damaged the edge of my culvert side. I don't care. I'm just saying, it happens. Stuff like that happens. Now, that approach to my driveway, there's a big gouge in the edge. That actually is yours, right? The city's?
We have right away there, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there was damage right there. I mean, but it's a gouge in the side with a mower come down and hit it. But, I mean, if you see that and say I did it, I mean, I don't know where the line is, if, you know. If I I damaged the road. If it's bad, I mean, I will stand up for it, but I don't think it should be in the, because you're already saying that if you catch me breaking the road, you're gonna prosecute anyways. If you catch the contractor breaking the road, you're gonna make them pay. It's already there.
And the attorney, Attorney Macy, in his comments, he didn't say that he was recommending that we do that. He asked whether we considered doing it.
Yeah, I recommend that you consider, and so that's what we're doing, considering. Right. Well,
Because we may not have talked, and I don't think we
Right.
really did.
no, I don't think we got into this kind of level of detail. This question originated from Sean, of course. You know, I mean, he started that, well, should there be anything like fix the road? You know, in his words, any damage found to be caused by the commercial vehicle, okay? So it's not your residential vehicle, but found to be caused by your commercial vehicle. So for us to just say, you did it, it can't happen that way. We have to find it, and we've got to have evidence to prove it.
I'm saying that that's already here without this in the paper, right? It's already there.
Well,
I just don't want it being there saying, okay, you did it, you're terminated.
but that's not what it's going to say.
Well,
That's not what it's going to say.
that's a
It's going to
possibility,
say,
though, ain't it?
it's going to say, if it's found to be caused by the commercial vehicle, then you will have to pay for the road, or the repair to the road. It's not going to say any damage whatsoever. It's got to be found to be caused by your commercial vehicle. That's what the suggestion is.
But again, it's already in your bylaws or whatever you call them. It's there already, right?
Well, again, this is a conditional use permit.
Right.
Okay. I just don't see why it has to be spoken twice, I guess, whatever.
Well, it does give us more leeway, if you will, because without it, we're saying we're gonna just pull your CO, and then you're not gonna be able to park your truck there. Because that's the only recourse we have to continuous damage, right? So by having this clause in there, gives us, okay, well, we've proven that you, or we saw that you broke the road, so pay for it. And then we're okay. You know, in my mind, that would give us that option, that otherwise, the only alternative we have is to either we ignore it just on infinitum, which I guarantee you wouldn't happen, or we have to pull the CO. So I think it's actually in your benefit, especially since how you're upstanding guy, you're already saying that, hey, if you wreck it, you'll pay for fixing it. You know, I personally don't even question that. But I think it actually is in both our benefits to have it in there.
I guess if this is the road we're gonna go that way. I'm spending way more money now than, storing it somewhere else and,
Right.
So,
How does it read though? What does it say? I mean,
well.
how do you word it?
Yeah, it'll be worded something to the extent that, the plan, Sean Malarkey is going to write it and our attorney is going to bless it, if you will, or review it. And it will say something to the effect that any damage found to be caused by your commercial building, you will pay for the cost of repairing the road, and maybe grounds for termination of your CUP. So that there is, as pointed out, and I tried to point it out too, and I would agree with trustee Slaney, I don't want to impose the death penalty that would be pulling your permit when it's a simple, let's fix it and you can continue on. Accidents happen, like you say. But it's got to be, again, it's got to be damage found to be caused by the commercial vehicle, which, you know, that's an evidentiary burden of proof no matter what.
And in the event that it's not repaired, that's our grounds for possible termination. Or-
Right, but we're
or
not gonna say it
reimbursed.
that way, it's not gonna be said that way, it's gonna be and. So because there may be, I mean, if he does it over and over and over, just saying you gotta fix it doesn't cut it, you know?
Well, would there be a town board meeting about it? I mean, I'm.
Oh, yeah, there'll be a
I'm
hearing about it, sure.
not gonna do it. I'm gonna try my
Yeah,
best. I mean,
there'll be a hearing about it, absolutely, there's gonna be, of course there will be. You know, we just, you know, unless you admit to it, there'll be a hearing. Just like any other ticket that you might receive, there's always a hearing of sorts, court date, whatever. You do have due process rights, as everybody does. Have a right to a hearing, to contest it.
So does this allow me to go left or right out of my driveway?
I don't think we put a restriction on it,
I'm just saying.
left or right.
I always go right because it's the shortest way to the expressway and to the major road. I do have some jobs that are shorter if I go down center and cut over to 24. I don't, very rarely do I do that, and it only takes another 5 minutes to go around the other way, so I don't really care. But, you know, just what I'm saying is.
I don't think we put any restrictions on which
Right,
way you turn
didn't.
out of your
I just
driveway.
wanted to clarify that. I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't think we put any restrictions right or left. I do think you told us that you normally go up to ES and over to the freeway.
Correct, to the major road and then
Right,
whichever way I gotta go then.
right. Yeah, Lorraine?
I think that clause needs to be put in there for the simple fact of no matter how it's repaired this time, whether this gentleman pays for the damage or we absorb the damage, it will at least be in there in the event of future damage.
Right, and that's what we're talking about here, future damage, not whatever the road condition is now, because we can't prove that one way or another. All I mentioned was the current road. We have pictures of what it looks like now, right, John? So, but yeah, you're not responsible for that. We can't prove whether you did that or not. You said you didn't do it. We don't know.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, I think we need a motion, yeah. You got a motion?
I'll make a motion that we add that clause, similar to what Sean Malarkey had in his email to us, to the CO.
To say that in the event there's damage found to be caused, that the petitioner will pay for the cost of repairing.
Right. If you say that
In addition to what he has.
that it's proven or identified.
Yeah, I think Sean's words are found to be caused by.
Okay.
Did you
I think that's
Did you
fair.
get enough to add that, have Sean?
I wasn't
add
going to
that
take
in?
I was going to take trustee Slawny's motion with the affirming the planner's comments dated, I'm trying to think
Yeah, I
the date on it.
September 10th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, to impose as an additional remedy, the cost of repairing the road.
Right.
Add that,
That's probably a better way to
add
say
that
it.
one condition to the present CU, draft CU.
Right.
Right.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay? Thank you.
Larry, do you have that verbiage?
What?
Do you have that, did I send that verbiage to you from Sean?
Yeah, this one here, September 9th.
Yes. That's the condition what you'll get is a new CU as soon as Sean puts it in, John looks at it. I'll send it to Carl and then I'll send it to you.
Then,
Then you sign and then Carl sign, because I have all the other information. Remember all the other things that you supplied? We have everything except for this is the last issue we have to resolve.
Right, and you've got a deed restriction all set up, ready to
That's
go?
all done.
That's all done.
I
Okay,
paid for everything.
yeah.
So when I have to sign everything before I can start parking a truck, or?
You gotta wait. What I'll do is I'll email Sean later tonight to let him know to add that condition. I'll email the planner and the attorney, letting him know what the board said, and then Sean's pretty quick about drafting, and then John will look at it, and then
Yeah, it's a
Carl will
sentence.
proof it.
Yeah, it's a sentence or two, so.
Hopefully be done. Sean will have it done tomorrow. I don't know about John, the attorney.
Yeah, hopefully quickly,
Come back here
because he
then?
just looked
No,
at it.
no, you're
No.
done.
We'll come back here to sign it.
I gotta
That-
come back here to sign it?
But
You have
to her, with her.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to us. And as soon as you do, then she gives it to me and I sign it.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Yep.
Should we go to the roof repair? Item 5B.
What about our sheriff?
Oh, sure. Oh, sorry. You guys sneak in there and then I focused on the agenda. Yes, our sheriff is here, or the substitute sheriff, so. Do you have anything? We'll deviate. Nobody will object to hearing from our sheriff, so.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I sent the stats from last month, I believe last week, so those should have been received. I know now that we do have an adopted ordinance that Deputy Hollingsworth will be able to start issuing citations under that ordinance.
Yep, and we're part of the North Prairie Joint Municipal Court, so.
Correct. Any questions for me?
Did you guys catch the perpetrator from the Cerny Market issue?
That is still being worked on by our detective bureau. I'm not exactly sure where they're at with it. So they did a good video surveillance, so hopefully that leads to something. Yes.
There was, someone on property in Parkwood Village, and, an officer was sent out to investigate. No one was found, but our Deputy Hollingsworth wasn't informed of that. And when he came to do his report, he was hearing it from us. Well, you could explain that.
Yeah, so I mean, if it would be like a vacation day or something like that, someone would have been filling in for him, and they might not have included that when they told him what happened in his contract.
Because it was in my neighborhood. And so it kind of hit home like, why doesn't he know about this?
Yes. That's something I can bring up, just to verify. The deputies, when they're filling in for Deputy Hollingsworth, that they are passing that back on to him. So
That would be
he's
great.
aware of what's going on.
I have a question. After that happened, that armed robbery, I believe it was, there were certain areas that came out with an alert.
Yes.
Dousman and that got alerts, but I'm 2 miles from there in the town of Vernon, right off of National, and I never got an alert.
Okay. The alert was set at a 2-mile radius. So depending on where your phone falls with towers and that, it was just 2 miles from that location that they sent the alert to.
Okay. Because that's about what it is.
It's not a perfect system. I mean, does pretty well, but I mean, there's times that people that are further away get it, people closer don't. It's all a lot dependent on the towers. So, I know in the past, I think it was the last incident, we sent out an alert down in Vernon that people didn't get the cancellation. I don't know, did everyone get a cancellation this time that was all clear? Is that something?
Oh, I didn't know
I
it
didn't
was
see
all
it.
clear.
Okay, is that something we addressed with the dispatch center?
Right.
We could verify that cancellation was sent out, so people were aware that it was all clear.
So now Racine needs to do the same thing. I did not receive an alert
You didn't either.
but I'm more than 2 miles away. But I did receive one for the U.S. Marshal in Racine.
Me too.
And it's still sheltering in place, because I have not seen an all clear, even though the suspect killed himself. But anyway.
Is the 2-mile radius from the tower or from the incident?
We try to set it from the incident, so when that incident happened, we notified dispatch that, hey, we want a 2-mile radius sent out for people to shelter in place.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, a firearm was displayed, we don't know where they went in that amount of time. but 2 miles should be a good circumference that they couldn't get out of if they're on foot, so. That's what we went with at the time, and I'm just glad they did send the all clear, because I know that's been an issue in the past, where people were wondering, well, are we done? And then dispatch starts getting phone calls, but this time it was sent out right when we said, yep, should be good.
Deputy Wenzel, what's your first name?
Nick.
Nick. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thanks.
Okay, now we'll go to roof repair. Sorry about that. We've got 5 proposals. This is for damage, storm damage, right, to the fire station number 1. We did receive an insurance check and an estimate. And our estimates range from approximately 8,600 and almost 15,000. We need to get going, I think, to get on their schedules to get it. So we'd like to have somewhat of a decision tonight. Our clerk administrator does need to publish a
Bid notice.
bid notice, class 1 notice.
Right. And then the board could make a determination at the next board meeting.
Right. So what do we need to do tonight?
Just authorize the clerk administrator to publish the public notice for the roof repairs on the fascia of the fire station and follow the process identified by our village attorney.
Didn't you already do that in order to get these bids? How did we get these?
When I went out there with the insurance company, I talked to the attorney and our insurance company, and they indicated you really should call several different and then put it out for bid, because then you have some idea of what they looked at, but when you put it out for bid, we'll get more bids.
Well, I was questioning primarily because I saw some roofing contractors that are local that I didn't see in the response from.
Right.
Like, right
Yep.
over there.
Right.
Semper Fi?
Yes.
Semper Fi?
Some dance and TJ or something like that. The guy that gives veterans a roof every year.
That's Semper Fi.
No, it's from East Troy.
Oh, I don't know him.
TJ.
There's a magazine too that I would send this to. I mean, it's not part of the bid notice, but it's a good way to get sealed bids on.
Okay,
And the problem sometimes is if you don't know exactly if you're gonna be over 5,000 or not, now you've discovered
yeah.
that you are, then you've got to do the bid notice. If you were
Yeah.
under, if everybody came in under, you'd say, well. we
And I
don't
thought
need
it was interesting to see well, number one, it was really interesting, to go out there with our insurance investigator, but then having the different vendors, come out and you saw the range in prices. So not that you have to decide anything tonight. I wanted you to have those, and what would happen now is we do the bid process. And there's a local free paper where a lot of those those contractors look for that, and it's a free publication. The only thing is I don't want to wait too long because of the time
they're
frame.
pretty busy.
Right.
Yeah.
A friend of mine just has been out trying to get a roofer. Still hasn't.
Yeah, all 5 of these said, because that was my concern, is getting it done, before the snow flies.
Or the heavy rains that are coming.
Right. So that's basically what you would do, Mr. President, is authorize the bid process to.
John, did you have a preference already in your mind, or?
Just out of the 5 that we had, or whatever we had there, like I said, the one stuck out in my mind that I really liked, because he was very thorough. He went over a few things and showed me things that were done probably improperly originally, and I have to agree with him on that. And he was very thorough, and I think he was very straight up and forefront, honest,
And I also didn't include the packets of information that came with these, because your packet would have been, I just gave you the nitty-gritty.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
Right. Well, we're looking for a highly rated company, and, A+ business, PBB is as it gets practically. And you got to look at things like what the materials are. There's differences in shingles and roofing materials, warranties. So, and you know, what exactly they're gonna do, they're replacing the exhaust vents, or they're not using the same ones? I mean, just
Right.
looking at these, they're all, some we're gonna replace them, some use the existing.
Right. And like he said, he pointed out some of the color changes that should be done on there, and just they used the wrong sort of materials where they shouldn't have, and stuff like that. Originally, you know.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to authorize clerk administrator to,
Proceed with the bid
yeah,
process.
proceed with the class one bid notices. We don't have to say class one, I suppose, the bid notices
yeah.
as required by, you
State
know,
law.
state law, state statute. For the roof repair of fire station number 1.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for that. We'll get going on that. And John, you might as well give your DPW report.
All right, it's been pretty busy last couple of weeks here. We had started the brush drop off last Saturday, and it's going very well actually. Last 3 days with our volunteers been pretty steady. A lot of people bringing multiple loads, and a lot of people complimenting and very content and happy with the service that they're able to bring that in. Couple complaints that, you know, we had no trailer or whatnot, but otherwise everybody thinks it's a great idea and very, very happy with it. So a lot of compliments on that. We have tomorrow and Friday, or Saturday morning, 7 to noon on Saturday, and all day tomorrow, 7 to 3:30 left yet. I have the grinder scheduled for Tuesday next week, so hopefully we can get that in. Hopefully, if the rain cooperates, if not, Wednesday's a rain day. Kind of play it by ear here. So, and after that, right now I only have 1 or 2 loads of mulch requested. So if anybody's looking for some wood chips or mulch, we're gonna have plenty of it. So, and that's a $30 fee per delivery per load,
Or you can come up and pick.
or you can pick it up and it's free. So, and we'll even load you. We've been crack filling lists last week here over on Vernon Hill subdivision. We had a little incident this morning. There's a heating element in a wand that broke, so the crack fill is not flowing through and it's not heating like it should. So we had to order a new one of those, and we obviously couldn't have crack filled today with the rain anyhow. So I'm hoping to see that tomorrow, get that thing back on the road, and finish out next week with the crack filling. I've got the mastic machine scheduled for the October 18th. That's the other material that we put down.
We saw the
That's-
bill in the payables.
Yes, I got 4 pallets of the mastic material. And I know I just talked to some guys in like New Berlin. Right now they have one of those machines rented. They used up their mastic, went back to get some more, and they have done. So they're sitting with nothing with the machine that they can't use right now. So that's why they told me, get it while you can. That's why I got 4 pallets of it when I did.
We don't own the machine.
No, we rent it.
Is that something reasonable to purchase?
For as much as we use it, probably not. And the maintenance on those is even like our crack fill machine, they're basically a maintenance nightmare. Just with the heating and all the elements and stuff. With our crack fill machine, that thing's down at least once every time we use it for something. It's a lot of stuff to go wrong with them. And then you plug up, the pumps get gummed up. You get any kind of pebble in that pump, you got to pull it apart, you know. So, and it's a big process. So you're looking at about $80,000 for one of those mastic machines. That was 2 years ago.
The only way that would make sense is if we bought it with other communities and agreed to,
It's getting to be more popular now. Honestly,
agreed
the
to
county,
take this week or that week and.
yeah, and the county just bought one, and that's what they're doing. So we could get on their list, but they have a list a mile long of other communities that are also renting it from them. Sherwood Industries has like 8 or 10 of them. I mean, the airport uses them from these guys, and that's where we get ours. And I had to get on the list October 18th was the first opening they had for us to get one. So it's getting to be really more popular thing. I think you're going to see probably more communities buying the machines or possibly going in with other communities and purchasing them. Split that
I
up.
think it'd be a good shared
Yeah,
shared
absolutely.
services.
Yeah. Eventually, yeah, I think, like I said, more and more people are definitely using it. The cost of material is a lot more than the crack fill, but you're getting a lot better quality material. It's going to last you a lot longer. So, and
Well, how is it holding up?
it's holding up very well. And that's I was going to say, I think this stuff that we put on Edgewood here, 2-3 years ago, is still sealed the road up really nice, filled in all the little dividends, the dips and stuff. And that's the best thing apart. You can put that stuff a foot wide and it doesn't settle. It stays flat. That's what's really nice about it. So, and it seals it up, the cracks really nice, and versus just the crack fill where you're only filling 3 inches,
Right.
And it's got its purposes too, but it's a different type of material. It's more of a filler. So,
Yeah, I've always been a big proponent of it after the study came out of Minnesota, uses it all statewide.
it's very hard. I noticed when we did some on Craig Avenue last year, and I was plowing, you hit it with your plow jumps over it. It doesn't wear off. It takes a long time to wear that stuff off. So it's some hard stuff. I mean, there's no doubt.
County uses it on the freeway, or the state does.
Yeah, yep. It's getting to be, like I said, everybody's starting to use it quite a bit, so.
I don't think they've touched what they did on the entrance ramp at 164 on the freeway.
No, it's
Since
got
they
a
put it
5-year,
in.
it's got a 5-year warranty on it. I know of right off the bat, and like I said, that stuff's been there for probably 3-4 years already almost.
Oh, I'd say so.
Yeah. So, it's good stuff. We had some tree damage today from, I don't know why, but if it was just because of the rain and the weight, we had a couple trees go down, one on Craig Avenue and one up in the subdivision, both of them on the road, so we had to deal with those today, cleaning those up, but they're kind of rotten trees, and I think just the weight of that moisture was enough to take them down, so I have a little excitement with that today. Excavator, we're still waiting. I would be thinking any week here we should be here and getting that in. We were up there 2 weeks ago and took a look at it, and he told us 2 weeks at that time, so. Tomorrow, if it's a rainy day, we're gonna be doing some well monitoring. I know we discussed that. If there's anything different that you guys would like to see right now, or just keep it normal, and then if we wanna improve on that, next year we can, adjust it then. That's what I'm thinking, but
John, could you explain that a little bit more? The well monitoring?
since I've taken it over, all we've done is tested, checked the depths of their wells for water depth. Just to kind of keep an idea of, in case something big would happen, and say if somebody would put a community well in down the road, all of a sudden your well is going dry. You have something to look back at. You have some kind of a record. I know previously Jim said that they were taking water samples, and that was prior to me taking over this. So, and we have not done that. So, I mean, that's what I said, if we're gonna discuss maybe doing something more to that effect down the road next year or in the future, we'll have to come up with a plan for that, so. And I think I lost, over the few years, we've lost 3 or 4 people, I think, people that have moved or didn't want us to monitor their wells. Corona, we had a couple of people didn't want us to mess with their stuff. So, we're down 3 or 4 residents, and I would say if it came down to it, we could put it out there somewhere, if maybe looking for a few more people that might be interested in having us do that, so.
Especially in some specific areas that we don't have somebody in that area.
Sure, yeah, right. We're pretty spread out right now, what we have covered, and we do the river, we check the river depths from the bridge down, in a couple different spots around the town also. So just to kind of keep an idea on a level, an average kind of thing, so. I'm curious to see after we do it again this fall, if anything changes with this dry weather that we've been having, so. I've got a couple ditch projects we gotta wrap up, real small stuff, just clean out some ditches, that were, impeding some water flow. I'd like to get those seeded. I was hoping to do that this week yet, or next week if weather permitting, but they're gonna be quick ones. And then, pretty much we're gonna start getting these trucks going here, where I got Bo working on the, preventative maintenance and going over these trucks one at a time here to, start getting them ready for winter. By the end of the month, I want to have them all ready for, just in case we do get some snow. So 2 years ago, we were plowing on for Halloween, so
Have you finished all the culvert work that you need to do for the roads for next year?
I am. I have one that we could do anytime. It'll be dry if we do it in spring. And we have that extra pipe here yet. We just don't kind of run out of time this year right now, so. But, for the most part, yeah, all the bigger projects we're ahead of the game, so looking good.
Anything else? Thank you, John.
Okay.
All right, back to the agenda. We're on letter A, codification of the ordinances. And this was sent, we saw this estimate, and we sent it back to get it revised to make sure the company giving us the estimate knew exactly what they were doing, and
It's all proofed, all ready to go.
so, yes.
Proof, double proof,
Yeah.
especially the charter ordinances. We wanted, the president wanted to make absolutely sure, and he did.
Yeah, that they're in there. What, I saw one, what is Charter Ordinance 01 called? What is, I mean, one was listed, that was my question on this. One was listed, where is it? One you could see it was listed as a charter ordinance. It says ordinance number V Charter 2020-02, but where is Charter 2020-01? That was the one thing.
I gotta get on the website.
We had a 1 and a 1.8.
You had a 1 and a 1A, and
Yeah, because one didn't pass, and then, but you have to keep them for prosperity, even though it didn't pass. The
V
pass, it was done-
2020-01A. Is
It
that
was
the,
done
oh yeah, that's the
incorrectly.
one, right?
Remember, there was one that was done incorrectly? That the attorney didn't catch? in the
Yes,
court?
oh yes. Yes, there was. And we had to redo it.
Yep. That's where the, I can't get on the website.
Yeah, so it's ordinance 2020-01. Is that on here? Just to make sure it is.
I know.
That's the very first one, right.
I know they're.
Ordinance 2020-01, ordinance confirming village status and creating village board. Yes, that's the, that's the first charter ordinance.
That's why the numbering is
Is
a little
goofy,
bit odd,
right.
because there was a mistake made,
Yeah,
but it was corrected.
right. It had to do with voting, as I recall. And it was fixed. Well, it had to be supermajority.
Oh,
No, we didn't have a supermajority the first time. Right, so,
I can't get on the website. But I know we checked it with E-code, and it's ready.
so it's ready, and price hasn't changed. I
Nope.
mean, we didn't think it would, but we wanted to make sure we had an accurate list.
There was one error that they made. It was their error, it wasn't our error. We had our original email that we sent to E-code, but it's corrected. So they know exactly what they have to codify. And I'd be happy to forward that email to the board so you can see that it wasn't our side, it was their side.
motion to approve
Yay!
to get them codified.
Not to exceed the 6,800, trustee Slaney?
And authorize the village president.
Sure.
Got it.
Whatever we need to do to get them
Get him going.
going. How long does that take now?
It doesn't take too long,
I'll second that motion.
3 weeks.
Okay.
Discussion? We've already had big discussion once before. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sorry, was that trustee Dan DeGrave that second? Okay,
Yes, yes.
sorry, I just wanted to make sure. Sorry.
Gotta keep my roof stuff together. on My desk. We are now on item 5, letter D, resolution 2021-015. It's a resolution regarding the redistricting of the wards. This is because of the census. It's necessary to get this adopted. There wasn't too many changes, all the rigmarole the county was going through.
No, but once the village approves this resolution, it goes to the county, state, and feds, and they get a kick at the cat, and if everybody agrees, then, I don't know, but Attorney Macy said even though you're adopting this resolution, they may remand it back to us. There's a possibility, but,
Why do we even do it until we hear back?
oh, you would not believe. You would not believe what goes into this. This is part of the state statutes. This is how there's meetings at the federal, state, county. There are census meetings. There's a lot of meetings before it even gets to this part.
We don't have the results from the census back yet.
Yeah, yeah, the census numbers are up. Up enough for them to make delineations on how I'm sure you've seen on the news, they're not fighting in Vernon, but there's a lot of areas where,
Well, it's usually a political ploy to be doing this, redistrict.
yeah, but not in Vernon.
Well, it's a single-minded, Vernon.
I was glad to see that we still have 3 county supervisors. I think that's,
I was just gonna ask you that.
yeah, still have 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like we still have 3. Our population is down underneath
Yeah,
7,500.
we only have 1 state senator and 1 congressman and 1 congressional, but I mean,
So what was changed on the map? Not much.
very few. But you saw our numbers went down. We lost like 200 people. That's,
People get older, their adult children finally leave and move elsewhere.
yep. And you can tell
And they're not
by
replaced with younger families.
our demographics, we have a very, very high number of registered voters. So that means we don't have a lot of young people in our community, so. But what really needs to happen is the board needs to approve this resolution, then it's sent to the county, and the county works with the state, and the state works with the feds, but I don't think you're gonna see many changes to this, but,
In your email, one of your documents, you said it was so that we could vote both at the fire station 1 and here.
yes.
We're doing it, we've always done that.
But in the last resolution that was done, it was delineated by either the fire station or or the village hall. Now we put them both in because you can change that by ordinance, depending on, as long as the wards aren't split, the board can pass a resolution stating where the voting's going to be. And just because it says either or doesn't mean it has to be either, but it just gives you a little more, you still would do an ordinance saying on the February, the August, the April, and the November, you would still make a delineation of where where the village board, and it has to be done a certain amount of time before the election, where they would be held. Right, because the fire department, to be perfectly honest, still isn't too crazy about having voting there.
Right.
Which is fine, I mean, we can use our village hall. But in this resolution, I put both, just to give us that flexibility.
It would be awfully crowded around here if, is that the gubernatorial race and
Yeah, but we've done a presidential here.
all by, all in
Everything,
one?
up, yeah, and Marie, a presidential is even bigger than a governor's race.
Oh, yeah,
But they're close,
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. I mean, they were lined all the way up to the fuel tanks.
Right. Well, there has a change now, and people are not going to go back. They've gotten used to voting through the mail and absentee or in person at window hours, and people found that
Yeah, if it,
so convenient that that's going to continue with or
Right.
without COVID.
if it wouldn't be for absentee voting, it probably would be a lot more hectic.
Yeah.
But as the president stated, it is so popular, absentee voting. That takes a lot of the stress off of, but we can do it here. I mean, if the fire department doesn't, it's not that they don't want the people there, it's just they don't want the additional exposure during COVID, so. But you'll make that decision.
Yeah, and we don't have to make that tonight. We just need to get this adopted tonight.
Motion to approve Resolution 2021-015.
Is there a second by trustee Kumarsek? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Newsletter.
Well, Mr. President, trustee Dan DeGrave there was something that was passed out. He was wondering if there'd be any way we could squeeze that little blurb in regards to our senior citizens, or I shouldn't say senior. Dan, did you want to jump in there, sir?
Thank you. Yes, this Tina Doggett is trying to establish like a social group, and she was looking for an area to do that would service all of the communities, the surrounding communities. She approached the Lions Club in Big Bend, the community center there, and we pretty much approved it. So they want to start using that possibly 2 days a week from 8 to noon. And I believe she's starting like in January. So she wanted to get a little piece in the newsletter to just let people know that they're trying to do that and invite anybody that wants to attend. Is that good?
And Dan, it's not a senior, so it's just a.
Correct.
It's a social club.
It's kind of like a social, it's probably going to be primarily seniors, but they didn't want to put any restriction on age. Play cards. They're going to try doing a lot of landscaping projects and stuff maybe around the place, start to improve some things. There's a lot of speakers coming in. She said she knows someone that's really into worms, and they want to talk more about worms and how to use worms in your gardening. She's looking for some exciting things.
Did you hear what Trustee Sloney said?
No.
Or fishing?
Or fishing.
I had to repeat that, Jim. It's pretty funny.
Well, just off the top of my head, I noticed this issue doesn't have any advertising for anybody. I know this is a social club or whatever. Are we going to allow other social clubs then space in here? And are we setting some kind of precedent? We even have any rules regarding this?
We don't have
You
any,
know.
there are no policies related to, in fact, advertising. We used to solicit for advertising. We had a contractor that did that for us, but we don't do that anymore.
That would be my concern. It's like, okay, this group is okay, but then, I don't know, I can name a lot of other social groups that maybe we wouldn't want one.
It's open to it's not just Vernon, it's a social group that are meeting in an area where that can.
They're meeting at the
facilitate it.
Lions Club. They're not
Right.
meeting here.
No, but they did call here.
They did call here. They were contacting Big Bend, I believe, but they wanted something neutral. And that's, I guess.
And big enough, good parking. And our building is so small.
Small.
And Big Bend doesn't really have anything. So it was just a nice location.
Right, I'm not complaining about the location. I'm
And
just
they're not
concerned
raising
about
money.
I'm just concerned about putting it in here. And are we opening up? Somebody mentioned worms. Can of worms, maybe. That would be my only concern.
Oh my God, you guys.
That would be my only concern about allowing this one. It's like,
They're,
okay.
they're not raising money, and the Lions Club has is basically donating or providing the space. So we're covering the costs of the facility.
the-
So there's no, and the Lions Club has approved.
Yeah, but, okay, let's stay on the agenda. The agenda is whether this little blurb can get into the newsletter, not how the social club is.
Correct.
Is working. It's not here, okay? Or who it's, whatever. And, so the question that trustee DeGrave is saying is, can, this in particular, but to me, it's more than just this, it's any social club, are we going to provide space? And if we're not, then that's fine, nobody gets it. If we do this one, then on what grounds do we turn away the next one? When the next one might be not a nice social club to meet new friends and bring old friends and play cards and do a puzzle, but it's to, I don't know, discuss.
Don't we have the discretion to put it in what we want to put in?
I would think John Macy may disagree with
Well, I
that.
know, John.
That's the problem. We're not a private, we're a governmental entity, not a private.
Well, they're planning to put out their own flyers anyway to make the public aware, right?
This group will probably put out their own flyers to make the public aware. Maybe we shouldn't get involved.
Yeah, that's a policy decision. I'm just raising the issue of anybody could come in. Motorcycle club, Confederate club, whatever, Nazis.
Wow.
Well, that's the example always.
I know.
Let the garden come in, then the Nazis can come in. And that's true. Macy will say that. So I prefer not to get involved just because it's the government. And this is private and they can advertise how they see fit.
It's okay.
So I don't know how otherwise we'll go to the newsletter. Everybody got a draft of it. Everybody's not saying anything, Dan, so.
Normally I would be okay with this. You know, may I rather ask forgiveness than,
And her point was, this is to benefit the communities.
right, and that's why I would be in favor of it. But
It's not, there's no other agenda.
right. But President Fortner does have a point.
Well, our newsletter is set up for informational purposes, for our community, right? Seems to me that's what this is.
Our community, our government, our municipality. I mean, you read the whole thing and it's about Vernon and the county, governmental services. This is a private group. That's the difference, in my mind. If we're selling advertising, then we'd say, well, buy a little ad. That would be fine, because we're selling advertising, but we're not
Oh,
selling it.
Attorney Macy would warn you on that too. You could get you could have the Ku Klux Klan want to do an ad in your paper, and how do you stop that?
Actually, we went through that discussion.
Yes.
Well, you couldn't stop it, and if you did, you'd get sued, maybe.
All right, let's keep moving.
Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, everybody got a copy of this, all right? So, in the past, I think we've had suggestions to put things in, and we have a motion to get it approved as it is, or subject to further editing or proofing
By the village president.
by the village president or his designee, who's already done her job. And there are a few edited things already, so. The only thing, the substantive comments that I had was, I thought and I don't know how much time we have to get things changed, but on the treasurer's article, what I would suggest or recommend that it be made clear, and by made clear, I mean, instead of just talking about property tax collections hours, which was fine, he should say, there are 4 ways to pay. In person, here's the hours, 24/7 Dropbox, Citizens Bank, which he didn't mention, which is very popular, and pay via the website. Does the county take our payments?
Yeah, maybe he should elaborate that too. It's on our website, but every municipalities, even if it's on your website, it links to the county site, and the county does all the transitions through point and pay. It goes to our bank, but the county actually does the,
Point and pay.
right. But it goes right into our bank. But maybe that's true. We should maybe elaborate that a little bit
Because
more.
you read the article and it's,
I mean, we've always put it in before. I'll
Yeah.
I'll just have Terry repeat what we and Lorene and we've all done, you
right,
know.
there- and I would just make it as clear as I said it. There's 4 ways to pay, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know? Because that's what people
How
are
do you
looking
get a
for.
receipt if you do it online?
You get a receipt right away. In fact, when you do it online, it gives you a warning. Hey, because if you do it on your credit card, a big amount of money. But if you do e-check or a debit, it'll ask you, this will cost you $1 or $1.50. So before it happens, it tells you exactly what you have to pay. And your receipt, confirmation number.
Right. And since the county's doing it, it is a real receipt that your property taxes are paid. Not a stamped receipt at Citizens Bank that says they got your check. That's not a receipt for property tax purposes. It's not receipted until it goes through Banyan in the county.
But it is on the county's website. I don't know how fast, I don't remember how fast after the payments are, people can go and download their,
It's pretty quick though, I think.
yeah. I mean, you can do it I think it goes back 10 years where you can get a receipt on your tax
Oh,
payment.
yeah.
I can have Terry fix that.
Yeah, so that would be a substantive thing. And then the other thing is, and I know we're tight for space in this newsletter under stormwater management. We talked at one time about putting something specific about subdivision retaining ponds and easements and the maintenance requirement in their subdivision restrictions.
And I'm just throwing this out, don't you
Okay.
think, because for like a subdivision like Hidden Lakes or the subdivision over here, there are subdivisions that don't have stormwater.
Some do, some don't.
Right, so to me, this is just my suggestion, when the board really hashes this subject out next year, the letter that I have that would go to subdivisions that this would affect would be much more concise to who it affects. I mean, stormwater is an overall very important issue, and Vernon, I know the Vernon board takes it very, very seriously. But that next step that this village board is going to take in regards to notifying subdivisions of their retention or detention pond is specifically related to their subdivision. So,
Can we identify those? Do we know who
oh, I
those
know
are?
exactly, and I've
Okay.
got form letters, I've got a whole bunch of things for you to look at.
Okay.
But until you get past the budget and all this other stuff, we'll dive into stormwater. And hopefully the stormwater report will be updated, that'll help the board. So that's just a suggestion to the board. I mean, if you want me to put something in there that possibly next year the village is going to identify subdivisions or property owners that are going to undertake the maintenance, and I don't know, what would the board like to do? I'd be happy to do whatever you want, but that specific issue that the president indicated, which is extremely important, is not relevant to many property owners in the village. It's your newer subdivisions that have massive retention or detention ponds or massive drainage easements, which will be identified in the updated, it is in the stormwater report, but we want it updated with all the subdivisions that came in after that fact, or developments that, not necessarily just subdivisions, but big commercial operations that have stormwater
Oh,
there.
sure.
So it's a big issue. And I've got really good examples for you, but it's such a big issue, until you get through all the other big issues you're handling, maybe next year you'll tackle that.
Right, so, yeah, and I was just thinking of some, because we had discussed it before, so instead of putting it, I suppose, in a newsletter that very few people might read, you would actually send a real notice
Right, and
to the people that it might actually be relevant to, and that list gets bigger and bigger.
right, and it's
every
really,
year.
it's
And
really
it's
good.
a problem.
It's good to
because-
host a big giant meeting somewhere with your village engineer that can explain, it's a big issue. And instead of doing it subdivision by subdivision, you really could, get a bigger facility, educate the property owners on what their responsibility is, and usually have the attorney and the engineer there to help you, because, it's not your laws, it's laws from the EPA that the DNR, they're all mandates from the EPA to the DNR to municipalities that are in the stormwater program.
Right, the concern is the people who live in the subdivisions with retainage ponds and easements and drainage easements, first of all, they probably don't understand that they are required to maintain those. They're homeowners association. It's not the government's responsibility and expense. It's the residents. And they don't understand it, and nor do they understand how they need to take care of their retainage plans to keep them from silting in, and, how expensive that might be, cutting the trees out of the easements and things like that. And I can tell you that there is just a huge education gap. And it's just it's year over year, and it's okay now, but eventually it's going to catch up with them. Trustee DeGrave, you think you need to say something?
Motion to table this discussion. I thought we were focusing on the newsletter.
Well, that's what we are. We're focusing on whether we want to do the education here or start it or not.
Yeah, my idea was in the newsletter just to do overall stormwater.
Right.
Because
that's
it
what
is
reads.
important, right.
That's what it reads. The only other comment I have is, can we add our Deputy Ward Hollingsworth to the sheriff's little column here somewhere?
Yes, put Ward in there.
Yeah. Other than that, it was just, I have a bunch of little grammar typo stuffs when I read through it. Otherwise,
Shocking.
shockingly enough.
Like one in your article. Sheriff's,
What's that?
HA.
I fixed that. I
Well,
fixed that out.
I don't know
Not
if
in
we.
my copy.
Yeah, if we can get it
I fixed
fast
that.
enough.
I changed that.
We've had
I
his picture,
flagged it for Jim.
we have all these different.
Went to her gang, whoever, I don't know, Kay. It still says sheriff is still spelled wrong in my article.
Oh, it is still spelled? Okay, we'll fix it. And trustee Dashig asked for a
Yours,
picture
right?
of Ward. So I'll contact Ward to see if he'll, because he was in the front page, remember, and his wife was really impressed. So,
Your picture
yeah,
with no glasses
Yeah.
in the background.
Pretty nice, huh?
Picked up on that right away.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve the Village of Vernon View newsletter, fall, winter newsletter, subject to, I suppose, subject to corrections of typos and grammatical errors.
And the decision is not to include this other
Right,
article.
it's not in there, so the stormwater. And I would say what's the
I
right
have
word for the
comments.
treasurer,
I have
yeah,
end comments made by the village board.
right. In particular, the treasurer, for example. But you don't need to put that in the
Okay.
I'll
motion.
make that motion.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? I do want at least the dollar fine for every place that says Town of Vernon when I look through here, so. Just kidding.
I got the biggest fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I have one joke. Okay, before we get to the really best part of the
Important
meeting, the best part of the meeting is now 8:20, so we will go, turn it over to Jim, we'll start the Employee handbook, not start, continue where we left off.
On page 22. Yeah.
Page 22.
Yeah.
Travel expense policy. And you did have a meeting for the first 21 pages, or are you kind of saving it up? Did you have an HR committee?
We did have an HR committee. We didn't go over all these changes. There was nothing significant. I mean, they were all grammaric or spelling, were, type changes. I haven't sent this out. My computer is in the shop right now. Kyle's doing my annual, that's overdue, check up on it, so I haven't updated the changes.
Okay.
Any questions on page 22? Hearing none, go to page 23.
On 23, where I was confused is on the meals, and I know that there's very little out-of-town travel, there doesn't need to be here, but on the meals, it talked about in number 19, it talks about such meals must be deducted. It talks about if you get a free meal, part of your, webinar or seminar that you're at. It's deducted from your traveler's per diem allowance. Are we on a per diem allowance, or are we gonna be on actual? And right now, we're on actual.
Actual.
So, the question, it's a policy decision.
Right, and which number is specifically?
19.
19, okay.
19, and then 29 is also talks about per diem allowances. And then 30, this is where I start getting confused. 30, next page, we're on 24, it's all together. Meal reimbursements will be capped at the per diem rates listed below, and it's like capped, well, aren't they equal to the per diem rates? This, and it refers to the, the GSA government, which is an IRS rule too, where they give you a per diem for what city you're in, and if you're not listed as in the city, there's a blanket rate for everybody else.
Right. That would be your standard per diem, and that would be what the meals would be.
Right,
capped at.
and then that's that. You spend it, you spend more, it's on yours, and that's that. It's a per diem. So right now, we're on actual, so we're talking changing it to per diem. Companies do it both ways. There's no, I have no idea which is more favorable now. They change their policies, whatever, but it's just.
Well, per diems are more favorable in, you don't have people going out there and ordering lobster or ribeye steaks on town, or village, in this case. That was how it was in the league's manual,
Okay,
so I just left it that way. But you're right, that is different than how we're doing it now. Somebody just turn in a bill and we just pay it. So it just depends on what the board wants to do.
right. It's a policy decision. And like I say, companies decide per diem, they decide actual, all depend, just
My
the,
guys, they preferred the per diem.
mostly because the receipts. Your per diem, you don't have to fool around with your receipts.
Exactly. And if they wanted to make extra money in their pocket, they could do that just by going to McDonald's or.
Not eating.
Or
Not eating, skipping lunch.
Most of my guys were from India, type of thing.
Get somebody else to buy.
But, I personally am more of a DM guy because then you know what you're going, what you really costs are.
I mean, we don't really have that much travel to begin with, correct?
Well, we send
Just makes
people
it
to Appleton or Oshkosh for training sometimes from the office here.
But you're talking about a few days, maybe a week.
Oh, yeah.
Not even a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
It's-
most seminars are 2 days.
Yeah, so you stay overnight, so you
I
get
think
two
just the
two
clerks
days for
want-
per diems and, yeah. Well, and the per diem, unless you're in a city that's on the list, is pretty low.
Right. So.
Yeah, I just pointed it out because it's
I
a
guess
change, that's all.
The other option is you can just state a max price per meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right, I've seen that before.
No, it- you
Not
know-
to exceed 10, not to exceed 15, not to exceed 25.
Right.
Could do it that way, but that's like a per diem, you know.
Yeah, in a way, it's setting the, yeah, right, that is kind of a per diem.
When I was going to the conferences up in Green Bay and that, a lot of times, they have a meal, lunch for you. Supper is you're on your own, but lunch is,
Right.
Right,
they usually have
And
sandwiches.
that's
or
usually
something.
that's part of your enrollment fee, if you will. You
Right.
know, $50 to attend that conference or whatever. The lunch is usually included in that.
Right.
But if you're gonna eat supper, you're on your own. So what do you reimburse?
well, 19 says your per diem less the lunch part of your per diem.
Well,
In that-
that's not the way I took that, but I understand what you're saying.
In 19, I thought that was business, that's what it was saying. Considered part of conference can be paid with registration, however, such
Well,
meals must be
because-
deducted from the per
The
diem.
reference is a per diem for the day. So if you were given, $10 for breakfast, 15 for lunch, and 25 for supper, that'd be what, $50 a day? So what they're saying is, okay, if you get your lunch from the conference, you gotta deduct that $15 from
Right,
your-
so you get 35, right.
Right.
That's what, yes, that's what it
Yes.
says.
Yeah,
Right. And that's what it should say.
and that's what it should say,
Yeah.
if you're doing the per diem thing.
Yeah, if you're doing the per diem thing. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a receipt, because
Right.
your lunch would be part of the conference to turn in to get reimbursed.
Right. I don't know that either way is any easier for the village to process. I mean, if you got an actual receipt, all right, you just write the check for the actual receipt. If you got a per diem, you know it ahead of time when it's gonna be. The only advantage in my mind is you tend to control it a little bit for people that would abuse the process. And I don't know how big of a deal that would be here. In my consulting work, it's a big deal. There's a lot of it. So,
Pick one.
Yeah, I'm neutral, it could go either way, I don't.
I'm neutral too.
You're gonna leave it?
I'm neutral. I would say just leave it the way you
J-
got
le-
it.
Leave it as per diems?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you have to set.
No,
Well,
it
they
refers
they do
to-
set it by referring to the GSA travel.
Yeah.
So there is a defined standard,
right.
right? Right, and 19, you can just write this, Jim, 19 is a little redundant with 33. One or the other, you've got it in there twice. The deduct in the event, your conference or your hotel, or, a lot of hotels now, it's free breakfast. Well, you should deduct your, right?
Yeah, in this case, it was talking about breakfast specifically.
Yeah, you see what I mean there, it's just. And then my question generally on this travel is, what about, I put a question mark, what about board members? We talk about employees, is this gonna also apply to board members? And if so, I think you gotta be specific. Board members, because we're elected officials.
But you're really not an employee.
Right, we get a W-2, but we're not an employee, right?
But you pay me to be here, and I pay taxes on it.
Yeah, but when I report to the federal and state government on employees, they don't want you. I'm sorry.
Right.
My feelings are hurt now.
It's not my rules.
My assumption was this applies to everybody that does anything for the town of Vernon,
Including board members, elected
including,
officials.
yeah, or even volunteers. If we send a volunteer somewhere, if you're operating on village business, at least that's how I was assuming.
Well, the volunteer is clearly not an employee then.
Right, yeah, but if we send somebody up to,
But if we're going to do that, wouldn't we say, and you're authorized to claim your expenses in accordance with the policy?
yeah,
I mean, because we can't have volunteers just doing that and sending in, oh, well, I was up on, well, we didn't ask you to do it.
well, no, well, if you're on official business,
Well, that's what I mean. So that would mean they'd need authority from the board to do it. And if they get that authority, that's when they would also get the authority that they're entitled to whatever the expenses are, whatever the board says the expenses can be charged in. As opposed to an employee, there's a supervisor and a budget, and we hold them accountable, you know?
somewhere in the front, probably in the, either in the, on page 5, where it first starts out talking, somewhere in this early part, just like I did for the relations with the fire department, stuff like that, is when, where it should say something to that effect, I guess. Because it's applicable not just for the per diem part.
You're looking.
I'm thinking of adding it on page 5 and making it a
page
one,
5, okay.
1 point C.
Point C.
That it applies, it doesn't exist yet, but that it applies to employees, board members, even, I don't know, committee members. I don't know how else we cover, would that cover everybody we need to cover?
Plan Commission. Well, eventually it's going for a legal review, so it's almost a legal question. How to define the scope of the.
How often do we send volunteers?
Mike.
How often do we send volunteers anywhere that involves meals?
Fire commission, sometimes, depending on what the League of Municipalities does, there is an overnight, I mean, they're way up north, so they might stay overnight the night before and then go to the fire commission seminar. That would be a volunteer committee member. I mean, we pay for their course.
I know when Mike Double was the chair, Tom Bird and 2 or 3 guys were driving up to wherever we bought that fire truck from.
Oh, Pierce.
Pierce, right? You know, a day or 2 day trip. There were at least one fireman that went, and somebody from the commission. I don't remember even know if I knew everybody that went up there several times.
All right, then it happens occasionally.
Okay, yeah. Rare location.
Isn't this an employee handbook?
Yeah, but it applies to everybody that doesn't work. Again, my
Expanding
thinking,
it to
it
anything?
applies to anybody that does village business, authorized by the village. Excluding contractors.
Or it could be done by board action before we send somebody.
Yeah. Well, I'll put some verbiage in there, and
Right, we gotta be, and then look at 10A, Jim, 10A1, reimburse staff, and so there's another little hook that, you can read this only applies to staff, so it's to work, to everyone, like you say, gotta be careful where all that happens. You see that on page 22? The top 10A1. And while we're on page 22, 10 working days. Most policies, it's 60, you got to get your stuff in 60 days. That's the IRS rule for an accountable plan. So this is awfully short, but
yeah, it was 10 that way, because we're not getting our stuff in from, we're just now paying August bills,
I get it.
you know?
I would just say, my suggestion is to follow the IRS rule at 60 days. So 60 calendar days. And then you could have an, unless there's an
Problem with
exception
that is
made.
it puts it out of, you're in a second pay period, or second period, you know, already.
30 days?
But I picked the 10. That's
All right.
not what,
I think it's way too short, but anyway.
yeah, no, that's fine. You said that was in 10?
That was page 22, yeah, page 22, 10A8.
Right. I had 20 days. I thought we had talked about this, but
Maybe it was earlier too, I don't, last time. I don't know if it showed up some other place
Oh.
earlier. I don't know, the IRS says 60 days for an accountable plan, and that's what most companies follow. That's the only reason I use 60. I
Okay.
mean, obviously, you can pick whatever number you want, but
I changed it to 60. You can't go wrong following the IRS. I think.
right. On page 23, number 22 and number 21. Okay, in 21, it says reimburse at the IRS mileage rate. That's what we do now. In 22, it says may opt to request reimbursements for actual gasoline, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why do we even give them that alternative? I would say, no, you get your mileage based on the IRS rate for the year, and it changes year to year, and that's that. And then in 23.
So you're just eliminating 22.
Well, not the form. I think the first
No, no,
sentence, the sentence may opt to request reimbursement. No, you get your mileage and we're done.
Okay?
In 23, do we want to, conference does not provide a receipt to cancel. Do we talk about documentation? Some conferences give out certificates of attendance or email a certificate of attendance. Do we want to require that or specifically mention that? I mean, it's proof that you were, a hotel gives you a receipt, you're gonna require that.
Right.
That's required by the IRS too, as well. This is, we sign up for a seminar, if you get a certificate of attendance, staple it on your receipts,
exactly. Yep.
that you went to the conference, right?
Which doesn't always happen, though.
Doesn't always happen,
No.
right? Not all of them do, some do. I mean, the town law conference, I got one, emailed to me, that I was on the call for all
I
6
didn't
hours.
get one.
Did
I
you?
was gonna say I didn't either.
Yes, I
Oh,
was.
that's because I signed up, put the codes in, and got it sent back to me.
Well, you could probably use the credits.
Yeah, I can always use credits.
See, I don't need them.
That was a good conference. Anyway. That was really good. But that one didn't have that one didn't have an email receipt that you were on the call, for example. So we went to two, I just recently attended two, I'll use myself. One, they were webinars. One was in the evening, no certificate. The other one, I got an email certificate. So sometimes you have them, sometimes you don't. So if available, or if, you know, I don't know how you want to word that, if available or something like that, right? Okay?
Yep.
Everybody agreed to that too. That's good.
Page 24.
Yeah, we talked about 24, 29, 30, and 31, and we talked about 33. And what else do we have on that? Now, if this applies to board members, which is, I think we're saying it does, I don't have any objection to that, by the way. I think board members, elected officials should be held to the same standards. Right now, what board members can get reimbursed for by travel is in 3 or 4 different places by resolutions and motions. I have them somewhere. It's different, I'll tell you this, it's different because those say if it's within Vernon, there's no reimbursement. This says you get it, which is fine. Most employers would say, if you're on business, you're on business. It's just, that was those motions or resolutions or whatever was passed. I don't even think they're resolutions. So,
Our previous handbook actually always did say outside of Vernon.
we're not, okay, so it was in the
That
handbook,
actually is how it always used to be.
okay? And so what I'm saying is consistent with that,
Yes.
which is, you know, which is fine.
I mean, I don't know how many times I drove to Madison. I would never put in a request for reimbursement, mileage or anything, but.
But that's because you chose not to put it in. The question is,
Exactly.
you could have though.
I could have, yes, I got, yeah.
Yeah, and I usually personally put it in if I'm outside of Vernon. Otherwise, the meeting's here, if it's in the fire station 1 or at the school, or if I have to go somewhere for plan commission, somebody's property, whatever, the cell tower location, whatever. You know, under that under the current policy, you don't put it in. It's unreimbursed expense.
What number were you talking about?
Well, this would be, where does it talks about generally if you're, you know, on Vernon business or something. Well, generally, number 21, reimbursement for use of a personal automobile for business use is based on IRS mileage for business use. I would read that for business use would be anything that has to do with your duties at Vernon.
Right. But it would be for business use outside of the village boundaries.
Yeah, if that's the way it reads now.
And, well, it doesn't read that way at all.
Not here.
Yeah, right. But now I know why I left it the way that. What if it's just driving from here to McQuantico? Or driving from here to the bank, which is in Big Bend.
Our bank's in Vernon.
It used to be Big Bend, one.
Lorraine said, no, is it?
It's always been the Vernon branch.
Vernon branch, but
No, we went and signed, when I took over as chair, at the Big Bend Bank.
You did, I saw him.
We were there, because you had to co-sign it or something.
Remember?
Right.
Lorraine? Yeah, we went to, Jim Boondorfer was there, and
When we signed for what?
for loans.
You know, for loans, we did go talk to him.
And then when you have to re-sign for cards and stuff.
Yeah,
But then we went over to the Vernon Bank. I don't think the Vernon Bank was there then, was it?
maybe not,
Okay, well,
Vernon branch was.
but I'm just saying, you know, driving to the hardware store in McWanago.
okay. If I drive to the village of McWanago for a meeting, that's outside of the town, I would say that's reimbursable under our policies. I drive to Big Bend, I guess the answer is the same, although it wouldn't necessarily occur to me to, because it's still in the rectangle. I mean, drive to the village of Waukesha, city of Waukesha, or Waukesha County, you know, to me, it's reimbursable. When we say within Vernon, it was always, well, what's within Vernon? What I listed off, right? Fire Station 1, 2, Big Bend Elementary is in Vernon, so if we have a meeting there, you know.
Here's an example, when we went through the budget, the treasurer had money in there for travel or for mileage, and about 2,000 miles. Now, going from here to the bank, is that what he's figuring for mileage? And
If
does
he's
that
on
fall into
business,
this?
a company would say you're on business going to the bank, you would get your reimbursement. And the treasurer's always got that
That's
reimbursement.
actually true, you know.
So therefore, well, no, we're not discussing that. I'm just talking about how this reads and what you're saying, going to the bank, whether it be Vernon or Big Bend, but yet the treasurer's put in a budget for that mileage reimbursement. So how does this need to read?
It matches his budget right now, and even if I add this sentence
Outside.
about
Outside of Vernon?
outside of Vernon.
If
Right,
he's
it
supposed to go to Vernon Branch and that's considered Vernon,
Got a point?
that's my
Well, that's
point with.
Oh, okay, well then, all right. Your point
You guys were
is,
talking
your
about
point,
going to the
your
bank.
point, your point is, if we're not gonna reimburse for mileage, if you're on business, Vernon business, so long as you stay within Vernon, you don't get reimbursement, then your point is, well, what does he need a mileage budget? And I would say, okay, he doesn't. And my point is, they always did submit mileage and they always did get reimbursed, the treasurers. And that's
Yeah,
why he
but,
has a budget. Now, you can
people run
complain
the
about the
post office.
2,000 miles, which is probably excessive, but that's not what we're talking about here. The question is, are we going to reimburse employees? You could say elected officials get a different rule. You can always say that.
Yeah.
Employees, when they're personal cars. So for example, let's say one of John's guys has to drive their personal, because they have to get to a job site, and they drive their personal car. You reimburse. They're in Vernon. They're not working outside of Vernon. You know,
For our software at the state, there's times I have to go out and actually investigate a property, or if there's a garbage call and it's something really extreme, John's not here. I mean, I don't put him down all the time, but there's times that you're using your personal car for village business. And there might be a time too where Terry goes to the bank and he's coming right back. He's not necessarily going home. He's
Right.
going back and forth to the bank. I know Lorene would do that. I'm sure Marie, you did too when you were collecting taxes, coming back and forth and back and forth.
So as long as you're on village business, you should get reimbursed for your mileage, if you turn in a mileage report,
yeah.
Yeah, and then it's.
Oh, yeah, well, sure.
which isn't being done for everybody they reimburse mileage for. I'm just saying,
Well, the mileage report, yeah, needs to, well, we'll get to that.
yeah.
We'll get to that here.
Therefore, I don't think there should be a restriction on outside of,
I agree, that's why I wrote it without that.
I-
There must have been a reason why I wrote it that.
Well, and the only reason
So
I raise
I
it,
totally agree with you,
yeah,
Jim. If it's business, it's business, period.
Yeah,
yeah, and the only reason I raise it is because it's different for elected officials now. And you know. Jim, you wrote it, this is the way companies write theirs.
Yeah.
You know,
Why is it different for board members?
I don't know.
I'm not aware that it is.
But you just said, the old one said that.
It comes
gotta be
down
out of-
to when you approve the submittal, if you see something on that report that you say, hey, Karen, you went to the Milwaukee Museum for the Village, come on, I'm not, you know, I mean, if I put down something that's, you know, you wouldn't approve that.
So, that's fine. I mean, I've just pointed out because it's a change, and it's a policy change, that I just want to make it conscious. And we're talking about now the elected officials.
It may be a change, but the board members always could turn in mileage. I just never did, just. because
Well, I turn in mileage, but I would never turn in mileage where I was staying in Vernon because of what those policies said.
Yeah, but it never said that it didn't apply to board members, or that it did apply for.
Oh, yeah, it does. I'll show you it. We found it all. We found it all when we had to respond to a sheriff's request.
I was arrested.
So, but that's fine. I'm just, like I say, I don't want to belabor it.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll leave it, just as you've written it.
I'm all for that.
Okay.
Now, page 25, I think we're on, which should be a sample travel expense form.
Yep. Under description, I'd try to, I'd somehow work in the word purpose, whether it's in the description / purpose or something in there. So we need to know why they took this trip.
There's a whole
That's the
block in
person.
the bottom.
There's a whole block in the bottom.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Carl, come on.
All right.
Is a black map big enough for you?
It's white. I like it. I made it a different shade. Strike the word fuel on top of mileage. It's just mileage. Otherwise, you know, it's a form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in Excel. I did that one, so. Pretty easy to use if we wanted to use that. Page 26, are we on? Hearing nothing. 27? $28?
I circled the number 25.
You did what?
Top of page 28, the bullet point that says anything of value more than $25. I circled it because I want this code of ethics, if this is going to apply to elected officials, it needs to conform to state law. I don't know that there's a 25, isn't it $5 or something even?
It's elected officials.
Yeah, right.
Employees can see.
Is it 25?
It's nothing. If you're an elected official, you're not supposed to pay anything.
No,
Anything.
no, I'm talking about it as an
Well,
employee.
employees can take whatever they want.
Ah,
I'll look that up. I'll look it up.
Not anymore, it's 25.
Yeah.
I mean, duh.
That was basically the same as business.
Right.
It was anything of value more than $25 had to be reported.
Yeah, to report it. Yeah, that's-
The IRS one that's a group on that? You're supposed to like $10 gift cards.
If it's a gift card, it's as good as cash, and it's on your W-2. So, yes. You can do it, but you just gotta put it on the W-2s. Okay, but there is something state law, it says in there, so I just circled 25 because it could be 50, it could be 5, it could be $1, $2. Anybody want that number different? We'll do it, we'll try to get by it here. Higher or lower, if you want it different, say what you think it should be.
I tend to agree with you that if there is a state law in an amount, then that's what should be in there,
That's easy. For state statutes,
per state statute.
federal, or compliance with state and federal. That way, if it changes, your employee manual changes. based
Yeah, I'd
upon-
have to find where it says that, so it can be referenced
Right.
properly.
Right.
And in so doing, I'd be able to see. I didn't look anything up on that one.
And therefore, if you are going to incorporate elected officials, then that's part of state statute.
Right.
Then we don't have to have an amount.
I mean, it should not include, if you were given, let's say, a leather coat.
As an example, hypothetically.
Hypothetically. I'm just saying.
With your name engraved on it?
You know,
In exchange for maybe when you're up there looking to buy something from that.
from the vendor.
It's really restricted for elected officials. Now, I'll find employees when you're talking.
Right, well, the employees get, I mean, anything of value that's intended to influence your decision, even as an employee, elected or not,
Right.
it's prohibited. Well, I know what the DA said about that particular hypothetical, so. It was not permitted, let's say. Okay, so there, maybe, everybody's in agreement that you can't accept anything of value if it's gonna influence you or contrary to state law, whether you're a public employee or an elected official. We just need to get the wording in there consistently.
Yeah.
You know, the $25, I don't even know if that's,
I would-
I don't even think that's a rule. That's like a private business saying, well, you guys can go out to lunch, but, you know,
Exactly. I think it allowed somebody to buy you a drink or buy you a lunch
lunch,
and not be a big deal.
right,
But anything more
more
than
than that, then it is a big deal. Or it could be. You just,
Or it
most
could
of the time, it's just reporting
Right.
that you got it. Someone took me to the ball game and the tickets are more than 25. Okay. Might not be a big deal.
Okay, page 29. Page 30.
This is all from the league's manual. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I was gonna-
31. $32.
Ooh, you guys are moving along.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, Carl.
When any policy or whatever puts another obligation on the president, since I'm president, I always have to.
Now he's gonna read it.
It's not in my statutory duties, but that's not to say what we're talking about here, just so people, I mean, if somebody's watching us on YouTube, we're looking at the employee manual and we're under, going back, no harassing people, sexually harassing, cooperation, courtesy, ethics, workplace violence, work performance. Everybody who has a job at any sizable company at all has these rules, conflicts of interest, grievance and appeals, and there you need to have a structure where you go to the supervisor, but if the supervisor is the one that's harassing you, you have to go to a
The next higher up.
next higher up, and eventually, I get it, it'll have to go to the president or the village board or whatever. I mean, so, That's where we're at. And that's fine, although I'm not sure you can actually force the president to do that, but yes.
Well, like I say, that was how it was in the league's manual, and I found that in several other municipalities' manuals as well.
Right, but, yeah. My point is,
Yeah,
it's, to me, you have to have, somebody has to be at the top to take these complaints. Somebody has to.
Ultimately, the buck has to
Stop somewhere, right.
Right.
And you either make it the head administrator, the head clerk administrator, or something, or the president of the board. I don't know, what other choices you have? And if it's the president of the board that's the problem, then you need to be able to go to.
God.
Then you need to go to, there must be, I didn't read it that closely. There's got to be, if it's out of the league, it's going to be to some other trustee,
Right,
or any trustee,
any trustee.
yeah.
Well, you can talk, it says that in here somewhere in one of these paragraphs, you can talk to anybody you feel comfortable with,
Yeah,
you know. So you might not feel comfortable talking to you, but you might feel comfortable talking to Marie or Lorraine, you know, type of thing. To bring it forward. But at the
oh
end of
yeah,
the
or
day-
any trustee, it does say that, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
On page 33, it starts
Yep.
with the paid time off and leave absent. Now, this hits on budget a little bit. This shows no change to our current list. And I don't know, I haven't heard anybody complain about vacation days. It's fewer than what not vacation, I'm sorry, the
Holidays.
holidays. It's fewer than what I'm used to at places I've worked in the past, but, you know,
I know there was a complaint about Good Friday. But I worked for the Catholic Church and I never had Good Friday off ever.
yeah, we always had a minimum of half day off on Good Friday.
Yeah, and then a lot of companies did give a half day off.
Yeah.
People go to church at noon and they,
Right.
But you had to come back with your crucifix. No, I'm kidding.
that's Ash Wednesday.
I know.
Here in this,
But as a government office, we gotta be careful about religious
Right,
holidays.
right.
this talks about all benefited employees. How many employees do we have
That get
that this policy would fall on?
6
employees.
full-time employees.
Okay.
Is that what a benefit employee means in here, full-time? Okay. Yep, so that's what it reads, that's what we have now.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't propose taking any away, and I wouldn't say put any more on. There's 9 of them. These are all pretty standard.
yeah.
Yep. Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day. They even get the day after Thanksgiving.
Yes, we do. Yay.
Not all companies do that. Christmas Eve. Some people don't get that off either, so they get that off Christmas Day. And, yeah, the only deal there, of course, those are winter, and that's double time, okay? Possibly triple time,
We don't have triple time, girl.
double time. Okay, good. Sunday, Monday roll, Saturdays, of course, on a Sunday. Saturday, Friday before, a Sunday, Monday after, okay, yep. So we're down to page 34, paid time off, vacation?
Yeah.
Or is this PTO? Or is there going to be a distinction between vacation, paid time off,
No,
and
it's-
sick days, or are we going to combine it all?
It's all paid time off.
Okay.
And that's how our HR people recommended it. to
Oh,
us,
yeah.
You know,
That's pretty common now,
it's just paid time off.
okay?
Now, the actual vacation accrual days, that's stayed the same as it's been all along. But keep an eye out for if I had my way, I would have changed how the accrual for that vacation time during the first year is. I don't remember right offhand whether I put it in here or not, or just wanted to talk about it. That, you know, they gotta work here for a whole year before they actually get a vacation day. So they're not accruing any vacation days for the months that they're here. Like some companies, you get 1 day a month, you know, for the, you know, type of thing, after your probationary period, as an example, if you had one. So that you could have some vacation, maybe only a few days, depending on, you know, when in the year you came in. And it stuck in my mind only because that caused a significant problem with John on his crew, when 2 guys ended up with COVID during the year and didn't have any vacation days or any paid time off yet because they hadn't been here yet a year.
But
So-
those were special circumstances.
Circumstances that could happen at any time to anybody ever. You know, I mean, it happened to be, this one was brought about because of COVID, which was turned out to be a pandemic type of issue. But it could have been just somebody being sick or,
Accident.
yeah, accident, you know. And I thought, well, we tried to write a policy, what was that? That was that an ordinance that we tried to write? Yeah, that was
Yeah.
2001,
Yep.
04 or something, right?
The COVID thing?
Yeah.
Yep,
You know, to try to cover it, but that never got
adopted.
adopted or
Well, it was
expired before.
It was adopted subject to legal review, and our legal review said don't adopt it.
Yeah.
And it expired June 30 of last year anyway.
Right,
or-
right. Something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
So that was what was in the back of my mind. Should we allow them to be, now we don't have anybody that doesn't have vacation anymore, because now they've all been here a year, right, Karen?
Yes, that's correct.
But moving forward, that seems to be a hardship, you know, that we don't have to impose upon them. I don't know. I think I left it as our current policy, where you don't get anything until you've been here like a full year.
Can the board always do a board action to address special circumstances like that? Or would we be in trouble if we had policies like this in place? If it was an intermanual?
Well, the board can always, this manual, it'll say in here somewhere, is probably several places, that it could be changed at any time and it doesn't confer any benefits and.
Right.
you know.
It's just a working document.
Right.
So it's subject to change at any
So
time.
we could either change the manual, or you could make a special rule like for the pandemic that we tried to do, and Labor Council said, don't do it. Even though what we were trying to do, I think, was the fair thing to do, but we're still in a pandemic. I mean, it's still going. So, 27 cases in Vernon in the last 3 days that we know about. But that was for like a 2-week period. I'm talking the last 3 days.
Uh-oh.
Is it children back in school or adults or?
You don't get that kind of data out of DHS, unfortunately.
Looks to me like I took the liberty to change to what I was thinking. On page 35, paragraph G,
I didn't understand that paragraph, but go ahead.
it says, vacations accrued on an anniversary date paid for the first year of employment on a prorated basis of days earned. Months worked divided by 12. What that is, that would, Even if you worked the whole year, that would only be 1 day.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I put a question mark. I didn't understand that.
Wonder where that came from.
And everybody should keep in mind too, we did have an employee who filed a grievance against Vernon when he left employment, saying that somehow Vernon shorted him accrued vacation days. Vernon did win that with the state. But it was based on whatever we'd written down on our existing policy book. And so we got to be careful here that this is worded clearly. I didn't understand G. I didn't understand H either.
Kind of go hand in
Or
hand.
why, or why we even needed H. I mean, if you accrued vacation, then H should say, well, if you terminate or retire, whatever your accrued vacation days that you haven't used is paid out.
Well, G is, yeah,
What if you've used
G
more
is just the
than?
first year.
How can you use more?
Because he said the first year you get 0.
So you-
Second year you get 5 days.
Yeah?
Well, I took my 5 days in January, and I quit in March.
Permitted. Permitted. Permitted.
Okay. No. So there's no accrued.
Yeah.
So it's, if I quit in March and didn't take my vacation,
Then you get 5 days. Plus whatever your accrual is
not
for those.
according to this, it says months worked divided by 12. So if I work 3 months divided by 12 times my 5 days, that means I would only have maybe a day.
No, you got 5 days because you pushed past your first anniversary. Now you're in your second one.
He's saying it right. That's it.
Oh, okay. Then I misunderstood what you said. You said you get no vacation the first year.
Yeah, that's how it is right now. You get no vacation the first year,
Okay,
you know? And
So
then
now
you
I
start
started
out
my
based
second
on
year.
that schedule that's here.
right. So I started my second year, so I'm entitled to
The
5 days for
You get
that,
5 days.
for that second year.
Yep.
No, actually, right. 1 to 2 years, you get 5. 2 years, then you get your 2-week vacation, 10 days.
Right,
Right. So in my second year, I get 5 days.
right.
So if I take my 5 days in January and then I quit in March, I'm okay.
You're okay.
If I don't take my 5 days,
You get paid.
according to this, it's on a prorated basis.
Not for the second year. You're looking at something that was specifically for the first year.
In case of termination or retirement, an employee shall be paid his accrued or unused vacation on a prorated basis of days earned.
Yeah, you've already earned the 5 days because you worked here for a whole year.
Okay, okay.
So you got
All
your,
right.
you got your first 5 days in the
Okay.
bag already.
Okay.
That's what the intent is. Whether it reads
Then I-
clear enough, that's, you know, potentially is, you know.
But it's even, under our existing policy, what, if, in Dan's hypothetical, new employee, you work a year, your 1-year anniversary, you get 5 days. Now you're in your second day, you show up for work the next day, you get 5 more days for that year. Those are loaded into your account immediately. And so now you have 10. Now you quit.
No, not at-
That's how it works right now, Dan.
Okay.
Forget about what this says.
Okay.
I don't understand what this says either, okay? And we had an employee that said, now, that's not good enough. I need an accrual because I'm getting loaded up this, all at once, my vacation, and now it's 2 months into the year, and I'm working on my year 3 vacation, and you need to give me an accrual for my year 3 vacation, 2/12 in your example. If March 1 quit 2 months, right?
Okay.
But that, if they haven't used any employee vacation, would get paid 10 days out when they quit, under the way it works now. And this is my whole thing. I mean, it dovetails with you. you know, you gotta work here a year to get vacation. Well, you know how hard it is to hire employees. This is a disincentive for people to switch jobs. Well, I'm gonna lose my vacation if I come and work for you. It's harder to hire new employees when you say, you gotta work here a year to get any vacation.
Right.
Now, it's one thing to make them work 3 months or 6-month probation.
Right.
But a year with no vacation?
That's-
I always thought that was a little harsh, and I also thought, under our existing, to load someone up, their vacation days on January 1st for the entire year,
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. Those days should be accruing as we go.
right.
And most employers do that, okay? Most employers accrue you as you go. Full calendar month, I mean, they make that clear, or a part calendar month, or they count a calendar month as long as you work more than 15 days. However you want to say it, you got to say it. You just can't, you know, the wording, you just can't say number of months. Well, what is that, a full month, part month? What constitutes a month? Is it 15 days, 16 days, the full month? What is it? You know?
You could base it on days, but
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, I have no problem with say you gotta work, a full month is a full month, and
Right.
you gotta, you know, so if you quit on March 10th, no, you're only getting 2 months. You know, you quit on March 31, you get 2 months. You quit on April 1, okay, you get 3. It's just a black, hard law. You know, there's just a
Right.
administrative rule that, so that everybody can do the calculations. So I guess the first thing, policy-wise, is you want to change this to allow some vacation accrual, right? Your first year of employment, because right now it's 0.
just to show you where I'm coming from. Where I worked last, before I retired, walking in the door, you got 3 weeks. We're still having a hard time getting qualified people.
Little bit different job
Well,
description.
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and in a professional capacity, you're going to try to hire professional people. They're going to say, at my last job, I got 3 weeks. Well, you don't get any till you work here a year. Well, okay, but I'm not working here. When I'm walking in the door, I want 3 weeks.
Or
And you
I've
could
already-
accrue me monthly, but I want 3 weeks,
Or
you know.
I'll come work for you, but I already have vacation scheduled this year. What are you gonna do?
They're going to give you the day off or the week off. Whether they pay you is a different issue. But, so that's the,
Right.
we got to get, you know, the policy here. If we're going to change it, we got to have the policy set by the board. So,
First
You
of
wanna
all, I would like to see us offer some vacation in that first year. Number of months worked beyond your probationary period, if you have one, you know, times whatever. I don't know anybody that only starts out at 5 days in the first place.
well, that's the next policy
That's-
issue.
You know, most people start out, everybody at 2 weeks when you walk in the door. But whether you accrue vacation during that first year, you know, and obviously they're using the whole first year for you to earn vacation in the second year. Which is a little,
Backwards.
I don't know, to me, strikes me as a little weird. But I was pretty certain I had it in here that I was attempting to initiate a change. And again, the formulas or whatever is in here, this is strictly out of what was either in the league or one of the other places I plagiarized from.
Okay, so let's set aside the wording, because I think we're going to have to work on the wording, but
Yeah.
let's get the concepts down, right? Don't you think? Do we want to, okay, first of all, should we at least accrue some vacation during the first year. As it stands now, it's 0 until you hit 1 year and it's a cliff and you get your 5 days.
Right.
So setting aside whether that should be 5 or 10 or 6 or 8 or 12, that first year, you want to start accruing vacation the moment someone walks in the door, or after probation, or after 3 months, or after 2 months, or whatever. So does the HR committee have any thoughts on that? I don't know how what kind of detail you guys talked about, Maria and Jim, but,
Yeah, it just depends. It just depends.
yeah.
They too thought, nothing the first year was kind of out of line. But again,
Right.
in their mindset, it was, you got to consider the whole package too, I mean, if we were paying an exorbitant amount,
Well, sure,
salary-wise,
right.
that type of thing. And I told them, no, we're probably pretty stingy on just about all of it, because that's been the tenor of all the boards through history, as far as I can tell. So we didn't go into details or options on that, other than they thought that makes it harder for us to hire people when we need them. There's people that want to have vacation time. I think Patty said, it might have been Art, but a lot of people consider their vacation time more important than their actual salary, because they want their time off.
I'm sure there's some people like that. Other people like cash, but anyway, yeah.
So, Mr. President, is this something that should be dealt with by the Human Resources Committee? Or do we need to form a special group to look at the total compensation package?
Well, we don't have
and
the
the
information to do
policies
that.
and,
Oh, sorry.
and the policies that have to do with all of these things? It seems like we're piecemealing a lot of stuff, going through the budget process, going through employee manual. I think somebody just needs to look at that whole package complete and take into consideration the medical, the vacations, the paid time off, the compensation, the whole
That's
thing.
called an equity review. We're in the process of doing it, nowhere near completion or,
So then we shouldn't even be talking about the details
no, we should
of some of
decide
these
what we want to
things.
do. Right now,
But you can't.
yes, we can. We can change it tomorrow.
Okay.
You know what, you don't understand. It's not cast in concrete, no matter what we do.
Right, but we're spending a lot of discussion on these things where the Human Resources Committee hasn't had an opportunity.
They had the opportunity, we chose not to, because we didn't have the information that we need. It's really that simple. I mean, we don't have a countywide survey of all the municipalities telling us what everybody charges for their vacation. Most of those people don't have that information online, so it's difficult to even get that information.
Where I'm going with this, Jim,
Oh, I know.
is I'd like the experts, whoever that is, if that's the Human Resource Committee, to make a recommendation, because I don't know what's right either.
Well, your option then is to vote no if you don't agree with whatever the rest of the board comes up with. I mean, it's really that simple.
Well, Dan, your recommendation is, or what you're thinking, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you would like to send this back to the HR committee for a recommendation as to
Yes.
a vacation policy, and that should be, in your mind anyway, the way you're thinking is done in conjunction with this, I forget the magic word you said,
Equity.
Equity study.
equity study.
Yes.
Right? Do I have
Yes,
that right?
Absolutely, yes.
But Jim, I'm not putting, well, I'll put words in my own mouth.
There you go.
The board can give the HR committee some direction here. In other words, the direction could be, we think that after probationary period, recommend 3 months, 6 months, we think new employees should start accruing and earning vacation. So when you look at your equity study, work that in. And we think as a board that 5 days is not enough, start them at 10. I'm making this up now.
Right.
And the schedule, otherwise the schedule after 3, 4, 5, we think that's fine. Okay, or we think it's too generous, or we think it's not generous enough. You know, some people say after 12 years, you get 20 working days. Some companies would say, what do you mean 4 weeks? This isn't Europe. I mean, we're capped at 3 weeks, right? A lot of companies are capped at 3 weeks. So this schedule here, somebody may say, that's way too generous once you hit 15 working days. So the board could give the HR committee, here's some parameters to work with, as opposed to, well, let's just see what they say. Well, then it's wide open. HR committee would say, well, you know, it's a policy decision. We're just the HR committee. We don't make the decision. We can recommend it, but what do you want us to do? Study, you know?
And I pointed it out that it was, what I have written here is different than what we've been doing, because it was more food for thought than anything else. We really need direction, what's the board think? Because the direction has to come from the board to have a policy made. And that's really all this book is working policies,
So,
Okay.
in my mind.
so in my mind is the board ought to provide direction. It can go back to the HR committee, which it's going to anyway.
It's going to anyway.
Anyway. And we're not going to decide on how to write how you accrue.
Right.
Because this is, you know, we'll get there and we'll have an example in there. Well, my suggestion is after you get done writing it, put a real live example so somebody can follow it. But I would think the board needs to give some direction to the HR committee, because otherwise we're not going to get it, we're not going to move forward, I don't think, without them getting some direction. Because I know what I would do on that committee. I would say, well, whatever you guys want to do, give us something to work with here. You know, in a company, the HR doesn't make vacation policy, the top executives do. So,
Because it's not a legal issue.
I understand, but what you're telling me is this is not what we're doing right now. This is something, this was your idea that you threw down on paper. Now I'm in the dark trying to come up with, well, what do we have to do to change what we're doing, and what direction should we give the Human Resource Committee? I'm at a loss.
Well, I don't quite understand that, but that's
Okay.
a fair,
I don't you're telling me that this is not what we're doing now. It's almost like if it's not broke,
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
fix it.
the number, that table you're pointing at is what we're doing right now.
Okay.
That's no change to that. It's just, when do you get your days of vacation? You know, it talks about the 5 days,
Okay.
but you don't get any at all. And it says that. You don't get any at all in that first year. I'm just saying, I don't think that's in our best interest.
Okay.
So what does the rest of the board think? If you think that's fine, okay, that's your call.
Lorraine, what do you think? Days, we're talking vacation days in your first year. Full-time employees.
Get them until you work the full year.
Wait until the full year. You get 0. Okay, Marie?
Well, I tend to do the probationary period and then maybe give them 2 or 3 of those days, and then at the end of that first year, then they get them all. Which is fine.
Dan?
My feeling is you can't do this in a vacuum, because if you were talking about it's hard to recruit new employees, if we have to look at the total compensation package, everything else, and again, I guess the reason I asked the village clerk was how many full-time employees does this impact? We're looking at 6 people. But are we looking at adding more people? All that kind of factors into some things with establishing your policy. And the policies that we've had in the past, hiring people today is totally different. and benefit packages are totally different today. And so I believe in being a little bit more creative and looking at some of these things going forward in the future. So
But isn't that what we're trying to do?
that's where I think a human resources committee, who are the experts, have maybe a better idea than I do. And I'm looking for a recommendation that I can say, oh, okay, I agree with that. Let's go with it. I'm not an expert on human resources. I haven't hired people in a long time.
It's throwing some personal waste.
Hiring employees is a total different thing today.
Understandably, it's harder than it ever was.
Right.
Hell, people don't even want to work.
That's right. And
Not
vacation
all
is
people.
sometimes more important than compensation. They want their days off. So again, it's
Which is,
those things that we've talked about.
but if you don't make a step, you never go anywhere. If you're waiting for somebody to come down from the cloud and hand you a tablet with it all written down already, you ain't gonna get anywhere. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'd rather get something done than,
I would, all right, on vacation alone, I would say after the probationary period, there should be some allowed vacation.
which is really what I was trying to do.
Okay.
Uh,
I don't know whether that should be 5 days. I don't know whether it should be 2 weeks. I don't know.
Right, those are details. But what we need is the direction for the board. You know, what do we want to do? Do we want to just leave it as is? Or do we want to come up with a formula or process to determine how many days after probationary period, if you actually get a probationary period? I think that really only applies to the guys in DPW, the probationary period. I don't think any of the people in the office are subject to probationary period. But they don't get any vacation anyhow, so it doesn't.
But that could change. We could have full-time employees.
Yeah,
That can change.
probably should. I'm just saying.
Right. Well, I'll just interject my view here. In my view, paid time off and personal days should be combined as PTO days, if you will. And under personal days, I think it's starting to what Jim is referring to. Letter B says new employees will not accumulate personal days, and I would say that's vacation PTO days until successfully completing their probationary period. And as soon as they complete it, whether that's 3 months, 6 months, whatever it's determined to be, I would say they start accruing for each full calendar month that they work after that completion of that period. There should be a formula, and it should be a day a month, 1.1, whatever that formula is per month, they should start accruing it. So if the probationary period is, as an example, 6 months, and they work another 6 months, you could say, well, to stick with 5 days of vacation their first year, you would just say, after probationary stops, you'd start accruing 0.83 days per full calendar month. Period. Off you go. And if you add in your PTO days, which I did some quick math, it looks like everybody's gets 6 days per year, which I've calculated as 4 hours of time off, as written, 4 hours of time off per month. It says each calendar month. I wrote in the word full calendar month, to be clear. So that's 12 full calendar months times 4 hours. That's 48 hours. Divide by 8 is 6 days. So that could be factored in with the vacation time as one accrual, started after the probation, and off you go. Now, you could say 5 is too short, but that goes to the accrual,
Right.
0.83 times 6 is 5 days for the first year. Because you work, probation 6, you work 6, you get That was just my example. But you could start accruing people at whatever per time. And as far as your equity study goes, that needs to be factored in. I mean, the direction is, that needs to be factored in. This equity study may turn out that, where everybody starts at 2 weeks. Okay.
Right.
You know, there aren't any comparables that start at 0 for a year. Maybe there are, I don't know. But that's if I was on the HR committee, that's the kind of direction that I would want to hear from the board. Or if I was in a company on HR, I would want to hear that from executive management. That these are our parameters. Put something together for us and make a recommendation. Jim, you're shaking yes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. My only question was what you said was, do the days that you worked on probation during your probationary period, do those count as the full number of months?
Yeah, and that, you could count them.
I mean.
You could count them if you wanted to, or you
just don't
could,
start accumulating them until
Right.
after.
right. Right, it says, on personal days, it does say will not accumulate personal days until afterwards. So they'd be accruing 0, 0, 0, and then they hit the probate, then they start accruing.
Right.
Now, what you're saying is, well, yeah, you accrue 0, 0, 0, but there's a cliff. If you hit that 3-month probation, you go back and say, well, if you were accruing from the beginning, you'd have 1, 2, 3 months. You get a cliff accrual, bang, you're right there. You're up to 3 days already. And then you're at, one a month for
Yeah.
whatever anniversary you hit. So yeah, we could do it that way. It's just a
And then the
method of
issue-
doing it.
The issue is that's accruing your vacation or your PTO, but when can you take your PTO?
Yeah, not until after.
Right.
Probationary
And that's
Well, you don't have any accrual before. That's what my point.
Yeah.
You don't have any accrual before. It's 0.
okay.
You're not accrued until you hit your day of end of your probation. So if you quit or if you need to take something, you don't have any to take.
And therefore you don't get paid out for unused.
Right.
Because there isn't any
Right.
unused.
That's my,
Now, I know it
That's
says
what
it
I'm
in
trying
here
to say.
somewhere, and it has always been that the probationary period is 80 days.
Where that came from.
I have no idea where that came from, but
Oh, an old union contract. Okay, well, I believe that. So make it 3 months, for gosh sakes. or
that's what I would
something.
think, you know.
Make it 3 months. Do you want, and I suppose what always got me about new employees is they're hard to hire, they're hard to find good ones. And if you have barriers to benefits to see if you work out, those barriers should eventually flatten out, go down. And say you get 0, 0, 0 for your first 3 months, then you start accruing. Personally, I would say, if you're on probation, you get 0. If you want to if you're sick, well, I guess you don't get paid that day. If you get COVID and you have to stay home, hey, no pay. It shouldn't matter why you're missing. That's the point of PTO. If you want a mental health day or you're hungover, nobody's asking you what you're doing, okay? So,
Right.
you get 0. You don't get paid, period. And if you do it enough, they might just terminate you because you don't show up for work. If you want to say, okay, you got your 3 months, you get a cliff accrual, that's fine. Because the barrier is down, you get what you would have earned, during your probation. So you can make it a cliff. Or you can just start at 0 and just start accruing.
Right.
Either way would be okay with me. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but that's the way I would approach it. Jim, you're saying yes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, I don't think you should get vacation during probationary period anyhow. That I don't have a problem with. Because a lot of companies said, especially like the ones that I worked at, you got a lot of weeks just walking in the door. And we had people that took vacation very quickly after they walked in the door and then left before the end of the year.
But then they had to pay it back, right? Or it was deducted? Oh, well.
You know, if you already
Those are the-
use your, because you were given that right away. So you could actually start using it right away. I have worked in places where you had to pay it back if you used stuff.
If you left,
If you left in that first year, yeah. You had to actually pay back all of it.
Well, I'm not in favor of paybacks because I'm in favor of zero accrual. You don't get paid, period.
Right.
There isn't going to be some big accounting and paying back or I used it in advance. You have it, you can use it. If you don't have it, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into this borrowing in advance vacation days. That's just crazy to me. And if you want to give them some days, like some sick days, personal days, you know, some smaller accrual during the first 3 months, that's fine too. Full accrual starts thereafter, instead of a cliff, for example. There's different ways you can do it. But personally, I'd like to see the vacation, you know, nothing during the probation, the 90 days, and then start a fresh accrual. If somebody wants to cliff vest, you know, what you would have earned, that's fine. And then you'll have a vacation account, a PTO account actually is what it'd be called. And you'll have PTO days and could be 0.8 days in there or something, you know, they just keep track of it. It's pretty easy. Payroll systems, you know, put it on their paychecks. Here's how many vacation days you have or hours or whatever.
right.
Pretty easy to do and it's just, you keep going. And if you haven't accrued it and it's not in your account, there's nothing to take. No, and if you terminate, it's whatever's in your account. That's what you get paid out for. That's pretty straightforward, I think, and that's what, I think that's, you should do it that way.
Yeah.
The simpler the better for both the employer and the employee. So they can understand it. You know, these fanciful accruals and stuff, you know, and then the increase in vacation days, I would say, that's just wording. If people like those days, fine. If you think they're overly generous, it's going to be a change, then we'll have to talk about grandfathering people who already earned them. When exactly they start and how the accrual starts. You know, it's the month after you hit your 14th year anniversary, then you get a bigger accrual. Okay, it's as easy as writing it that way, okay? You know, instead of getting 1.6, you get 1.7. If on your starting the first of the month after you have your 14th anniversary or whatever you want to say there, and it can be written that way so that everybody can understand it. So that would be my direction to the HR committee, Jim. I don't.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much consistent with what I was trying to get to. Like I say, I put some stuff in here for to catch our eye, so to make sure that we talk about it. But I think that's reasonably good. We'll come back with verbiage from the HR folks.
And then I think Dan and others, if we can get there with the HR committee, then the board can say, I don't like that accrual, it's too high or it's too low.
Right.
Then we're talking about a vacation or a PTO number accrual as opposed to kind of all this other stuff. And yes, it has to be built into the equity. It has to be. It will be, you know. That would be my recommendation.
And then my recommendation.
It would be to stop doing, and stop this right here.
I'm on page 35 here, so we did just about the same amount of pages as we did the last time, so that's.
Okay, so,
that's fine.
so first of all, do we have a consensus on kind of what I'm thinking, and Jim is nodding yes? So he's on consensus, Lorraine, yes. Marie, you're on the committee, so, I mean, this is your direction to your committee, you think that's gonna be Fine. Okay, Dan? Yes. Okay. We'll stop here, right in front of military leave. Well, that's important. Jury duties are gonna be important. You know, it's just funeral, bereavement, all this is coming. Okay, well, we got somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent more time than we thought. 9:45. We gotta get going. Okay, we're on announcements and reports. I'll go first, Village Board President. We are, busy on our budget meetings, as everyone knows. And, so that's, no shared services coming up. We did have one scheduled with the Village of Waukesha, but that was canceled because they didn't properly notice it. That has not been rescheduled. I did mention in our discussion, not here just in passing, but I will want to emphasize to our residents that the COVID cases as reported through the DHS, positive COVID cases are jumping up in Vernon. We've had 27 reported in the last 3 days. So please be safe and, or try to be as safe as you can. And take precautions that you need to. I know we have a lot of elderly residents, and this particular virus is, can be very devastating to the older you get. So I just had a friend pass away this morning. He was just found, and it's not good. That's all my report. We'll go to Trustee Solani.
I don't think I have anything new for this month.
Okay, Trustee DeGrave.
No report this month.
A person came to me again, and we talked about this before, but I don't think we ever got an answer about the signs on the Smokey the Bears, about low, it's low for burning. People really do look at that, and if it's not gonna be kept up, then they should just take that sign down and not have anything there, because people will abide by it, and it's been low forever. And there are some days you shouldn't have been burning. So I don't know if we need to go to Alex and find out what's going on or what. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Dashik.
I had an inquiry about the Channel 25 for the people who still have cable television. Is that functioning?
Have them call Time Warner.
Okay, so
Spectrum.
that is not functioning at all.
Have them call Time Warner, because I can't get them to come out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not functioning, and it's a
Time Warner,
Time Warner.
it's all their fault. All them.
They cut it off?
I can't get anybody to come out. We've had like 5 different people out. I have one more ace, but I hate to do that, but we've been emailing back and forth and tickets here, tickets there. So if people call and complain, hey, I'm paying for this public broadcast station and I can't. I have one guy that calls every other day. But if it, that would help. Sorry.
That's all I have.
All right. We heard from DPW, Waukesha County, we heard from them, Clerk Administrator.
I just wanted to report that Alex does change those, and they base it on the DNR Smokey the Bear thing. So you can call Alex, but they follow exactly the guidelines for burning. So because it was brought up before the meeting, and you can talk to Alex or Patrick, they update that based upon the standards from we don't follow. I mean, they have the right to change their sign any way they want, but they do follow DNR standards. But Alex said call him anytime, and he'll explain what they do and why they do their signage for Smokey the Bear. I have a ton of reports, but because of it's 10 to 10, I'll wait till next meeting.
Thank you.
Won't be here.
I just wrote down start reports at 9:45. They are all short. Okay, finance. That's another joke. Oh, Accounts payable. Accounts payable. The only thing I have in accounts payable, and I would ask the board if we could, remove the waste management invoices. And the reason I'm requesting that is, as I understand it, we pay per ton collected. And there's a rate per ton. And they've adjusted our rate, and they're allowed to adjust our rate, but the way they adjusted it, in my mind, needs further review and maybe legal review, because how they increased it significantly because they claim that the rate was never properly adjusted from 2016, and they want to go back and recalculate the rate as it should have been calculated, in their view, should have been calculated, as opposed to the way it was calculated. And we signed an extension, an addendum, where we both agreed, both parties agreed that the rate was on the extension date, X, whatever that X is, and I don't know what it is. And so, to me, in my mind, anyway, that's your base, and that's the base you adjust off of, not the base in 2016 and saying it was improperly done for 5 years. So I'm not opposed to paying what we think the rate is on these invoices, but I'm not going to pay more than what we think it is, and we need to sit down with them and understand their position. They need to understand ours, and we may have to get, it's a contract, so we might have to get legal review to say this is how this contract should be interpreted. On top of that, we do have numerous service complaints from Waste Management, and as I've tried to warn the board all along, is we eventually are going to have to sit down and hash this out, because it can't continue. It just can't. The service can't continue as it is. Now, they've always picked up mine and everything, but that's not uniform. So that's what I would ask to do. I don't know if there was a number I could point to and say, no, pay this amount instead of that amount. I don't know what that number is, make a partial payment. But we could pull them and then,
And you saw Mike said he'd like to come in. I don't think it should be at a board meeting initially, because there are so many complaints that,
right, we could spend 2 hours with the guy
just on complaints.
on complaints. And it'll eventually end up in our laps, and I don't want to.
It is, than it was, but it's still not good.
Right. Right.
People are paying for a service and they're not getting service, and
Right, and they're not getting served, they're not getting picked up at all, even late. Some of them.
So I think we should tell them, no, we're not gonna pay it,
oh, yeah.
and we're not
Oh,
gonna pay
yeah.
it until the service improved to an acceptable level.
Yeah,
And we
right,
meet to
We-
discuss this tonnage issue.
right. The pricing per ton.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, I'm not in, don't ghost them or anything, but.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll
We gotta be
explain.
professional about
Right,
it.
right.
Right, as long as they know, we still have an option to bail on this whole contract.
Yeah, but I'd hate to bail and then get nailed by another company that's gonna, I'm really watching what the village of Waukesha and the city of
That's gonna
Waukesha.
happen. If everybody else is charging that high, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But we still should bail just because of the way they've handled all the situation so far.
I know that's what, the village of Waukesha did. City of Waukesha put them on notice that if you don't improve your service, they gave them notice and an opportunity to, correct their. I mean, our route manager right now is picking up garbage. That's how short-staffed
They are. He's driving a truck
Yep,
instead of
the
managing.
two route manager, yeah, they
Instead
just,
of managing, doing their real job.
nobody
which-
wants to work, nobody gets vacation, it's not accrued, they don't get.
So are we looking for a motion to approve accounts payable
Yeah, let's get a new.
less the waste management?
You're right.
129.
Exactly, that's the number.
Is that
I
is
came
it?
up with.
Yep,
As opposed to the 65,424 on the front page, am I, on the batch number
65,
page?
424 is just the waste management.
right. That's
Okay.
the only bill you're contesting, right? Or
Right.
Not necessarily,
Not
So
contested.
it's,
need further
the
information.
total is 132,608.41. less the 65, 424, 12,
Yep.
gives you 67,184.29.
Is that a motion to approve batch 2021-1007, except for the waste managements and the dollar amount?
67,184.29.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would like to discuss just one payment.
Okay.
And this would be for the treasurer's class that he's going to. I just don't think we should be making out checks to individuals. They should be charged on the town's credit card. Because if
Doesn't
there,
have one.
He doesn't have one, but is there a
Well-
reason for that?
is there what?
Is there a reason that instead of a check, instead of using your personal credit card, because it's one charge a year, and getting reimbursed, that it should go on the town's credit card? Is there a reason?
Yeah, because if the course is canceled, the person decides not to go. I mean, this has been brought up before where we're making payments by check to individuals. And it would be better if it was charged back to a credit card that is part of the town or part of the village here. Wow.
Okay. We just got through the employee handbook with reimbursements. Wouldn't that person have to attend that seminar to get reimbursed? And if he hasn't,
He already did.
he already did. So I don't, to your,
Okay.
For out of his own pocket.
Yeah.
He should be reimbursed.
right.
All
Your
right.
point is, well, if it's canceled, then you were afraid that you've paid him the money, it's canceled, or he cancels it, or she.
Or whatever.
And then-
something happens.
And then he gets the money back and he keeps the Vernon check. Well, that's not gonna happen if you don't reimburse him unless he proves he was there, right?
Okay. So these reimbursements are always coming after the attendance.
Yeah, you wouldn't ask for a
And
reimbursement.
sometimes you put it on the town card,
Yeah,
you know.
and
Yeah,
we should
because
get Terry a
you're-
We've done
credit
that,
card.
I've done that a couple of times where you.
Well, you used to
taking
put
care of the
my
registration.
things on your card. It
Yeah,
was-
but the board doesn't like that.
Correct.
So we're in the process of trying to get Alex's. So we'll just get Terry one.
Yeah, we could.
And everybody has to follow the credit card policy.
Exactly.
Fine,
Okay, you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'll second the motion if nobody else.
It's already been.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries.
No manual checks.
No manual checks, accounts receivable aging report. You received it. I think we put it under finances because, well, you want to explain what our
Well, first of
normal
all, I
process
just wanted
is.
the board to see the aging report, and then the second, more prevalent issue is the one, there's only two that you would even consider putting on a tax bill or warning the resident that if they don't pay, it may go on their tax bill or they should appear before the board. And the first one would be, the second from the top, it would be customer number 2666. And then possibly the same letter would go to the one on the very bottom of the first page, customer number 7415. The rest of them are all pretty new, or if they've already paid, or,
7415, okay.
because we sent a letter out saying, boy, you better get this up. I mean, Bill Bress won't get his, that's pretty new, though.
Right, we usually, if people are, we usually don't look at it unless they're delinquent over 90 days and gotten letters and, but there's got to be an end to it sometime, so. And typically, they get one last chance.
Well, the other one is 7341. I don't know what to do with that one. On the second page,
73.
second from the top, I haven't heard
Oh,
anything.
yeah, I was going to ask about that one.
I'll call him again, but he's made no attempt to call, or I have no, I'll give the board a report on that
How
one.
old is it?
Well, this goes back to, well, you changed it in December of 2020. This is that $98,000 fine.
Oh, that's that guy.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
well, we changed it, provided he paid on schedule, and he
It's supposed to
didn't,
come
so
in.
it's back to 98, technically. So, I
Yep.
Yep.
mean, not to say that we could change it back, but technically. Yeah, that's another one. So timeline, give us, if you could, a timeline
Well,
maybe going backwards, when does the county need to know what's going on the tax bill?
in November,
Like into November?
middle, she likes it, mid-November.
November 15th.
Yeah.
Where's our, let's,
15th is, yeah, that's good, that's a Monday.
so we would have to decide by the first meeting in November.
Right, they have to make some attempt to contact come and appear before the village board to talk about their fees or make arrangements, or they have to come before you or else pay the bill. Otherwise, the village board will consider, putting it on, you'd probably do it on your first,
First meeting in November.
which is the 4th.
Yeah, our second meeting would be the 18th, but then we wouldn't get it to the county until the 19th, right?
Yeah, and I could double check with Candy, but she hates to wait too long.
Right. Well, we understand, there's gotta be, it's on their tax bill, so they gotta put it.
The only good thing is it's only 2.
Yeah, because the other ones are either,
They're not that old. or
Not that old, they're
They've already paid,
paid.
and well, it's 3. It's with the one that we had the judgment for.
right, there's 3.
So there's
really.
3 of them.
And so what's our practice? We usually send,
A
this
letter
is your last chance.
letting them know that the village board has discussed it. There's a pretty significant possibility that this will appear on your next 2022 tax bill.
Not pretty.
It will appear.
It will appear.
It will appear. You don't pay it, it'll be on your tax bill.
Okay.
I mean,
And those 3, I would send regular and certified, just to see why, just to make sure that they get it.
Right. And that's overkill, but I would agree with that. I
Right.
don't want people to.
Just 3.
Okay, so the very first one at the top, that's delinquent personal property. That one we can't do.
Nope.
I would agree
No,
with,
and both all those personal property we can't, but it's trying to track these businesses down where they've moved to now.
right.
So-
And the second one I would agree with. The third one, doesn't he usually pay
Oh,
his
he
bill?
always pays it, you
All
know,
right, so we're not too concerned,
He'll-
although
he'll
he
pay.
is over 90 days.
on one, but he's paid bills that were
Yeah, I know, he's
more
always paid.
recent, so I don't know
was
if
just gonna
this,
say, he's always paid, hasn't he?
right, yep.
Well, I'd send him a reminder, maybe not, it's gonna be
Right.
on your tax bill, but,
Well, and before his staff was mailing him to Foth or.
oh,
So-
yes, I know,
Yeah.
yeah. He got a chargeback from Foth, so they've sent the bill,
Right.
the payment to Foth
Yep.
instead of us. And
3090.
then fourth one down, they paid.
Yep, they paid. Ron Beam, that's unusual for him, but that's a pretty new bill. But he's always, that's a pretty substantial bill, but he always pays.
Right, that's the subdivision of Double Ridge.
Right. Bills is pretty new.
That's
He
pretty
always
news.
pays.
Personal property,
That's
it's
paid.
$2, okay, whatever.
That's paid.
Citizens, they
don't
should
know.
pay, what's the deal
I don't
here?
know, I don't understand.
For their sign, which
think
they
that-
never really put up, did they? I don't think it ever saw one in the ground there,
Yeah, they did.
did they?
Yeah, they had
they
a,
changed it even, didn't they?
yeah.
Well, you can just send them a letter, I don't think we have to,
No.
on that one. Personal property,
Yep.
now we're down to 7415, yeah, I'd set, right? I agree with your recommendation there to send them a letter.
Plum
I'm
is-
just going fast here, people are saying, we'll do it by consensus, people are saying, yeah, okay. Clum, I'm surprised, oh, he's
That's
not too
pretty
bad,
new.
he
That's
pays pretty good.
August, yep.
Yep,
There's that sassy.
yeah, no,
7083 is paid. 69 and 65 is coming into pay. I mean, Doug, I know will pay.
right, Keith
60,
Nynam,
yep.
he'll pay.
Yep,
Mr.
and
Schutte,
Shooty is
it's
pretty
just
new, they'll pay
pretty-
too.
Right, okay,
So there's
so it's,
really 1, 2, 3.
right, and then Mr. number 7341, the court order judgment,
Yeah, he's got to get a letter.
yeah, he's gonna have to get a letter.
It's part of my 3.
By consensus, is that good? We trying to do,
Yes.
okay. Got it?
Got it? I got it.
By consensus, you're good?
Yep.
Okay. It was unanimous consensus too. I saw everybody say yes. Okay, so we're into village board minutes. September 14th. I'll make a motion to approve the September 14th Board and Finance Committee meeting minutes. Is there a second? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we're on to Thursday, September 16th. Oh, no, I was good with these. I'll make a motion to approve the Thursday, September 16, 2021 Village Board meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now we are on Tuesday, September 21, Board and Finance. So I'll make a motion to approve the Tuesday, September 21, 2021 Board and Finance Committee meeting minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This one, I might have, you said Dan voted?
Yeah, Dan, I wanted to call your I wanted to ask you we're on September 28th. You got it?
I had him
The-
opposed
the-
on the first motion, but
The first motion you opposed, and I think that's correct. The second motion, I thought you also opposed.
oh, I have him seconding the motion.
Is that right? I don't know about that. This is the buyout.
You were the only one that opposed to that.
I thought Dan voted no too.
He seconded the motion.
That was the,
That was changing the buyout from, it was continuing the buyout for $71.50 a year and changing the single person to half the amount.
40%.
That was 40%.
40% of the amount.
Oh, it's 40%?
Yeah,
yes,
it is
40%.
Okay.
And then, yes, I did second that motion.
And did you vote for it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, you were the only one that opposed.
all right. I thought Dan opposed too.
Is that 40%? Is the 28th?
It's supposed to be 40% of the
Okay.
7,000.
Yeah, that's right.
50,
That's math is right.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, and then the only thing is I was a little bit, well, it's a little bit ambiguous. The road program in double I, the last sentence says the shared services representatives, well, that would be Jim and I guess, if you wanted to list us out, but indicated they
Villager?
spoke to the villages, so it should be Village of Big Bend Shared Services Committee. That's who we spoke to. So maybe we can just say Village of Big Bend Shared Services Committee. Change the word village and then add Shared Services Committee, and if you do that, then I will make a motion to approve that. Approve the September 28th, 2021 Board and Finance Committee meeting minutes with those changes. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your clarification on that, Dan. Next village meeting dates, Village Board, regular 7 o'clock, October 21, Village Plan Commission only, October 13th, 7 PM. And then we've got a staff meeting, October 28th, starting at 1, right? 1. Okay. Is there a second?
Yes.
10 minutes after 10, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
When do we have our?
We're adjourned.
HR meeting?
Hi, Rodell.
Yeah. October.
Where you stayed the whole
End
time.
stream.